Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing? Oh my goodness. You know, you guys are the only people I know where I can be on time for a week straight, early for a week straight, and still have no faith in my punctuality. Which is a good thing, right? Like that's obviously the wise decision, is to have no faith in the punctuality, since I have a demonstrated track record of being late every time other than the past week. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing? You've been conditioned to be late. That was part of my plan. You see, I am like the Pennsylvania voting system. What I did was I set expectations that everybody would be late. That's what I've done. So, you know, that's how it is. You're blockbotting me? No. The reason I'm wearing it's not a jacket, it's just a zip-up hoodie. The reason I'm wearing the zip-up hoodie in the vault is because my other shirt is like almost flesh-colored, and when I wear them, people make fun of me. So I decided to throw on an accent color, because that matters. You mean the 15 FPS camera? The camera looks fine, I think. Maybe the bitrate's having trouble. I don't know. So there's a lot going on. Oh my gosh, there's a lot going on. There's since we last talked on this show, I did an impromptu show yesterday on the Rekieta Media channel, which streams over there are not going to be frequent or commonplace. But if I ever have a stream where I don't, it's not this show. It's not this show. It's something other than this show, but it's also like just a hanging out stream. It'll be either over there on Twitch, kind of depending on what the format is. So, you can follow those if you want. If you want just, time filler, hanging out time, Rekieta Media. That's not the primary function of the channel. It's an alternative function of the channel. The primary function is still short nerd-related videos, one of which I'm working on. And I can show you that real quick. I've been painting this 7-inch mini. This is the bolter from it for, Warhammer. This guy, he's not painted yet. This guy's not painted yet. But I've been working on it. In fact, I do have his backpack here, which is there. Can't really see the color very well because of the lighting, but it's purple because he's a Soul Drinker chapter. Anyway, so I've been painting these figures, or this figure, for a video. I've also been trying to get my scanner set up to quickly scan Tasha's Cauldron of Everything so I can have some nice PDFs of it for the videos. But that's what's going on over there, and that'll be a video at some point in the future, and as well as some other nerd-related content over there, okay? So, if you like that stuff, go check out my other channel, Rekieta Media on YouTube, or you can also subscribe to Rekieta Law on Twitch, which is where you can find watch parties or video game playing every night after these shows, just about. Typically, that's going to start 2 a.m. Central Time. However, this show could go long, so it's not officially scheduled, but you can check it out over there. Almost to 10,000 followers on Twitch and almost to 10,000 subscribers on the second channel. So I would appreciate any help with that. Those are fun end of the year goals for me. So that's that. That has nothing to do with any of this stuff. That's just filler talk. What we have today, since the last stream on this channel, which is how I got to the filler talk, we were covering the Pennsylvania election from the Republican Congress people that was brought, that the lower court said had a likelihood of success on the merits and therefore imposed an injunction. It was quickly appealed directly to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which completely unrelated to the result of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision. They are a 5-2 Democrat to Republican Supreme Court. So, but surely that has nothing to do with the decisions that were made. I just want to point that out. That is, how dare you suggest that judges with official party affiliations that run for office in popular elections would be political in their decisions at all? You bigot. You bigot. So, now that we've established that you are all bigots for thinking that, we can move through the results of that. We'll talk about it a little bit, and we'll talk about what the next steps are, I guess, in these cases. We can talk about Georgia. I did a short video about what's going on down in Georgia. There's big stuff going on in Arizona today. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there's big stuff going on in several of these states. And of course, the goal of the Trump team right now is not legal victories in court. It's just not the goal. It hasn't been the goal probably for a solid week. What it seems they have done, I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. It seems they cast out basically two nets. The first net was to see if the legal side, if they could catch on the legal side, then they would run with that. The second net was the media, public perception side. That seems to be catching on better, not great, but better. And and I'm not being critical of it not catching on great. The problem that they have is a completely ridiculous media. It's an absurd environment of, frankly, an election picked by the media. The media chose the presidential election. They did it openly. They do it joyfully. They did it mockingly. And, there's all sorts of analysis that could go into how they accomplished this, laying a little bit of blame at Trump's feet. He did make an enemy of most of the media for the past 4 years. Laying more of the blame at the media's feet, they made an enemy of Trump before he was even president. So, that being said, they have chosen the president. In fact, Twitter and Facebook are a massive part of why we are in the situation we're in. They're a massive part of why there is no real way to get any sort of reliable information about the efforts to overturn what is going on in the election. That's just where we are. How do you get your messaging out when all of the media is opposed to the message? In fact, one of the witnesses testifying at the Arizona hearing today had their Twitter account suspended. Whoops. I don't know if that story sounds familiar, but at the Pennsylvania legislative hearing, one of the key witnesses in that legislative hearing had his Twitter account suspended. Whoops. Just, my finger slipped. Banned. There you go. There you go. So. Oh, I have the old timestamps in the description still. Damn it, YouTube. Thank you. Thank you for that. So YouTube has this feature where you can reuse the settings from the previous live stream. Since his live stream was similar in theme and has the same tags and stuff like that, I just reused the settings. Forgot that I put the timestamps in there. Thank you to Agrilith, who does the timestamp. Agrilith is a ridiculously how do I word this? Endurant man, because he endures all of the live streams, makes all of the timestamps. Most of them are pinned as a top comment. Whenever I find them, I pin them right away. And then I've been trying to add them to the descriptions, which then adds time breaks to the actual replay. But anyway, Agrilith is awesome for doing that. So the problem with this is there's a media gray out. It's not a blackout because that would be racist and the media isn't racist. It's a media gray out because some of the information still trickles through. They're able to get some messaging out to the public about just what's been going on, but for the most part, you can't. You can't do it. And that's because the media doesn't want it to come out. I don't know why. I mean, well, I do know why, but I don't know what they're so afraid of. They have the numbers, right? They have the will of the people, except that they don't. Because there was what? The one study done where they basically polled Democrat voters in all 50 states and found out that I think it was if they had known about certain news stories that were suppressed actively by Twitter and the media, or just ignored by the media, right? You don't need to suppress it if no one reports on it at all. Specifically, the Hunter Biden scandal, that something like 16% of Biden voters would have voted for Trump or not voted for Biden at all. You know, just that, though. Just more than enough to swing the election. The election, whatever happens as far as court goes, whatever happens as far as the public push goes for any of this, the people most guilty of stealing the election are the media. Absolutely. They chose Joe Biden as a candidate before he even announced. Like, they didn't choose him. They just choose not Trump. The other candidate, the Democrat candidate, was the pick. It was obvious from the get-go. There was never any attempt to hide it. Anyone who says anything else, I honestly don't know how you can deal with that. And if you're fine with that, as many people can be, you can be fine with that. You can say they have a First Amendment right to choose who they want for president. And you would be correct. You would be correct that they do. I would humbly suggest that anyone relying on their credibility as being neutral cannot then overtly choose a president. I mean, they can, shouldn't. How's that? Just be open about it. Just be open and say, we do not want Donald Trump to be president. We want Joe Biden to be president. By the way, that's the news. But places like CNN and NBC, many would suggest even Fox News, who did this, you know, they pretended to not be that. And that, I think, is most people's problem. All right. Let me do this. There are 2 super chats to read first, and then I've got an announcement. Because it's Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday. R.W. Bimby says, lawsuit to stop confirmation parts that haven't happened yet due to it being unconstitutional. Court says too late to stop unconstitutional things that haven't happened yet. Yeah, it's, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that specifically. We've also got the Dragon's Treasure says, can't believe I'm doing this. Coupon code Nick is extended by 1 day so more people can make tea purchases at the Dragon's Treasure. We're about $1,000 away from hitting the goal this Friday. The goal where someone buys Drexel a dragon dildo on my behalf. He says, I never even asked for this to be a thing. What the hell have you degenerates done to my humble tea store? Also, Nick, pick out your teas so I can make them and cut them already, you boomer. Stop getting in the way of me giving you more money. Okay, so thedragonstreasure.com is where you can get tea. That tea is high quality hand cut tea, and it's anime themed. There are also tea accessories. Like, he's like the Hank Hill of tea, right? Tea and tea accessories. Go check it out. Use coupon code Nick and you get a discount. So there you go. Go check out the Dragon's Treasure. Yeah, if he gets enough, I don't know what the total amount is. He said he's $1,000 away on Friday from hitting the goal by this Friday. I don't know what that, I guess $1,000 by Friday. Someone will buy Drexel a bad dragon dildo, I guess. Okay. So there's that. All right. Here is the Cyber Monday announcement. On Black Friday, we had a discount. And that was all $5 super chats would be read as they come in. Just like a $20 super chat. And I'm extending that deal to Friday, or to Monday, which is today. And I'm going to attempt, this is 1 day a year, y'all, to do $2 super chats as well. So this is the deepest of discounts. 1 day a year only do I do this. It's a blowout sale. We're trying to get all of the super chats. We're trying to get them all out. We got an inventory of chats that need to be purchased. So there you go. Yeah, Angry Baneling, you can send that out throughout the show. That would be helpful. Truly, that's, it's a goofy thing. That's all. So anyway, in light of that, there are a couple that I would like to go ahead and read through, and then we will go and delve into the suits, and then everything will return back to normal tomorrow, as far as the show goes. Automata says, that your pop guard, or are you just happy to see us? Yes. Brian Nataran says, this Nick is confirmed the imposter. Damn. Andrew War Snowboard says, I have no idea how you can drink and live stream while screaming as much as you do. I can barely do it silent for half the time while on Twitch. Gelt Walker says, about time you shield your awesome mods, you cheap brony hay knockoff. At this rate, the biggest nose in all legalese may just get bigger. Damn. Archimedes says, yeah, but if they rigged the machines, couldn't they have rigged the Democratic primaries for Biden? Yes, but I don't think the media rigged the machines. I just don't think the media cares if the machines were rigged at all. Peter Pete says, you Jew. Corin42 says the Pennsylvania Supreme Court using latches to prevent a suit to determine unconstitutionality seems unconstitutional. They can assess it without giving the requested remedy. I mean, they can, but they didn't have to. They didn't want to. We're going to talk about that one. That one's fun. RW Bimby says, typical, I get something and then it goes on sale. Yep, sorry. Texas Red says, ha ha ha, RW Bimby got screwed. He did. That's how it goes. Respergu says, Mr. Ricada, please help Trump win the election. There's not much I can do. I can talk into a can. And hopefully people will listen to me a little bit, and that's about it. Lost Bullet says, shill Drex's new show, migtown.show. Wait, does he have a website? What is this? He has a website. It's going really slow. Is this ever going to look... Or did you put this on Canadian internet? What is this? You did. I don't know if it's on Canadian internet, but it's there. And it's slow. Maybe everybody's going to it. Guys, check it out. migtown.show. So, he's got launch. It's a 1-minute read. 1-minute read? What is this? Tinder versus OnlyFans, episode 001. Where is the episode, though? Oh, it's coming Friday, December 4th. There we go. Here, I guess I could show this. Here it is, the MGTOWN podcast with Drexel. So you can check that out. Tinder versus OnlyFans will be the first show coming Friday, December 4th. So that'll be for all of your debauchery needs. There's that. Oh, I should also point out tomorrow is Tuesday, and it is the first official, I believe, Vic Mignogna live stream over on Twitch. So you can go over to Real Vic Mignogna on Twitch, and he will be doing his first live stream over there, and check it out. If that's what you're into. If you need some, I guess, more wholesome content after Drexel. You guys broke Drexel's website? Why would you do that? Why? Vic's Twitch stream will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks to Awig for that one. Are you an admin in his chat? Who, in Vic's chat? I don't think so. But you guys can go check it out. All right, Renegade Shuriken says Racket/Drexel 2024. Orc Warchief says, have you seen that I'm a not Starfire comic yet? It's bad. It's real bad. Starfire has an L daughter, man. It's bad. I don't know what you're talking about. Asia Fraser says, did work with Wells Fargo prep you for your grifting career? Work with Wells Fargo took away any semblance of shame or dignity I ever had. So yes, it did. It also stripped my soul away, which prepared me for being a lawyer. Javier Miedo says, Grifter, can you do $5 super chat every Black Friday? Well, but Black Fridays are only once a year, so maybe. Maybe. Timothy Farley says, I, Nick Ricada, promise under oath to dress up as Sailor Moon on the next stream. Okay. Sergei Suvorov Says, yay, can you recommend a good intro whiskey to this noob? Yeah. Yeah, Basil Hayden's is a good, solid, neutral-ish bourbon. It's not too expensive, but it's better than garbage. So give that a shot. Basil Hayden's. Don't get the Basil Hayden's rye. Basil Hayden's bourbon. I mean, the rye is fine, but get the bourbon. Start with that. Texas Red says, what do you call an evil pharmacy? A harmacy. Okay. All right. Kalinka Pavlova says, hi, chat and talking big nose. Hey, thank you. Wait. Hi. Robert Levito says, we're reaching levels of grift that shouldn't be possible. Mike Mysterio 13 says, thank you, Nick, and all that shared and donated to my friend's GoFundMe. We're at $725 out of 1,000. Thank you, and may God bless you all. Thank you, Mike. I think I've got it here just so we know. I'll go ahead and send it out one more time. Where is it? Where are you, Mike? I think I have you in my DMs here, right? Here it is. All right, copy link. Oh my goodness. So here you go, Mike. That is to, I just sent in the chat the link to Mike's GoFundMe for his friend. I don't, I can't ever verify a GoFundMe someone sends me unless I know them personally, but I give that to you to go check out on your own. And if you feel so drawn to it, you can donate to that there. Thermasius 1980 says, hello, fellow boomer. The Masters brush, soap, and conditioner is one thing to look into. Hobby Lobby or any craft store will have it. Will help keep your brushes in good condition. I think it's the Parkinson's that I really need to worry about. ISJ322 says, shave the sides of your hair. You look better. No, it's cold, man. I gotta have some cushion. Bad Dragonite says, I heard Bad Dragon who hath summoned me. Gelth Walker says, unlike you, we love Drexel. Lamau. Wait, are you saying I don't love Drexel or you don't love me? Rude. Serial Foxity says, what do you mean websites aren't made for traffic? Rip. ISJ322 says, for a rigger, Drex isn't that bad. Is he like an oil rigger? Is that what you're saying? I don't think that's... He said he works in the travel industry. I'm not sure if oil rigging is part of that. Malik Foxon says, rackets, you mad lad. What are you doing? Also, happy Monday and stuff. This is going to be Super Chat Monday and like nothing else. I think so. Corin42 says, $2 chats are now being read. Whoa, be careful or before you know it, you will be using technology competently. Unlikely. 11X says, thanks for the balance of black and white pills. When boog, though, God bless. Hopefully never. I'm not a fan of the Civil War. Although, Promotional Monday, if you guys did not see. Let me... did not see. Not did not see. You know what I mean. I've got a little photo for you. Got a little photo over here for you. Little photo. This is some flags sent to me by Short Round. The Ricada Law flags. A Lady Rackets is included for scale, so you guys can see how the size of the flags. These are high quality, wonderful flags. Really tremendous. They flap better than any flag I've ever seen. But the reason I bring them up is because you can get meme-based stuff, meme-based change you can believe in at onlyfeds.com. Onlyfeds.com. If you need your Boogaloo flags, if you need all of this stuff, Free Michigan, F. Whitmer, you can check their flags. They have flags, patches, stickers. They also have, I believe he still has the plate carriers and stuff like that. So you can check it out. You can buy your own Ricada Law flag right here. Here it is. Speech is free. Lawyers aren't. Neither are apostrophes. And then you can, there are several flags here. So if you are interested in that, that's at onlyfeds.com. So check that out. Really great stuff. Short Round makes terrific things. I don't think this show is ever going to even start, which is great. Thank you for mentioning the boog and reminding me of OnlyFeds. Gerard Garvin says, Nick, why don't you have a gold wedding band? Or is this a Mandela effect thing? I do have I have a titanium wedding band. Because I lost my first one. R.I.P. to that. But which was, I think it was steel anyway. But I have a titanium wedding band, but I wear this one because it's more comfortable. And my titanium one is upstairs in a safe place, so I never lose it again. But no, this is better for carrying and grabbing things. Dex Terminax says, Nick, I think something's wrong with all these doom pills you've been giving us. They say Ambien on the side, and some seem to be suppositories. And I give them forcefully. Body pillow when? I'm working on it. 200 Watt Studio says, is this Vic's scam baiting Twitch channel? Scam baiting? I don't know. It's Vic's actual Twitch channel. So you can go there. I think it's going to be similar in format to the Unlocked app where people can actually call in and talk to him and stuff. I don't know. Kalinka Pavlova says, I forbid the Sailor Moon cosplay. Me too. Gulf City Cartographer says, Drex's site got hit up like a single mom. Oh, come on. Oh, Richard Fitzwell. There are 5 Black Fridays per year, 1 in November, 4 in February. Oh, come on now. Sasuol says, I sent you a message on Twitter about my vet buddy who may need a lawyer help in Texas. I will see. I think I know someone who might be able to help down there. Siren Jag says, I forbid anything but the Sailor Moon cosplay. Renegade Shuriken says, there was an old farmer who lived on a rock. Orc War Chief says, I'm not Starfire is a new DC comic. Look it up. Oh, God. Renegade Shuriken says, he sat in the meadow just shaking his sock, clock, smock, frock, glock. Some noob X says, gotta earn that grift, puppet. Stick your hand up me and make me talk for $5. Joshua Vidrine says, I hate licensing for everything these days. I don't own anything anymore and I'm sick of it. Someone end me in Minecraft. Oh, wait, you'll lose your Microsoft account because that violates the TOS. Are you saying Minecrafting yourself violates TOS? Oh my goodness. Robert Levito says, I don't think running a swingers club counts as working in the travel industry. He doesn't run a swingers club. Thermasius 1980 says, how do you know a child's ugly? A map says, nah, fam. I'll see myself out. Gross. Steven Talbot says, please jump scare my best friend on Twitch. Her name is Kooky Love X. She thinks Nick is a nerd. What? Why think she's a nerd? I don't know who that is. But Renegade Shuriken says, fist at the boys down by the crick. He says, their feet in the water, their hands on their... Okay, come on. Then he says, dicks. Frederick Shragnasher says, will you be streaming any Cyberpunk next week? Is that next week? Oh, if that comes out next week, yeah, I'll probably grab it. Frederick Little says, hey, Nick, do you think Ronversations will ever come back? Ron hasn't really been talking to me or anybody else. As far as I know. Bad Dragonite says, at least they aren't asking for Sailor Awoon cosplay. Lost Bullet says, your traffic made Cloudflare think DDoS attack. Permafrost says, licensing is the reason I pirate everything now. And if you don't know what they mean by licensing, they mean that you don't own the things that you think you own. And that's coming to cars, by the way. If you don't think that is coming to automobiles soon, you will not own your automobile. You will merely hold a license to utilize the computer that drives your automobile for you. And you won't have a right to repair it or modify it or anything like that, because why would you? You do, you void the warranty and any service on it and prevent all updates. That's coming. It's coming. It's already basically here. So, Kalinka Pavlova says, small child wants to watch Ponyo, so I must yield the TV. Farewell, lads, lasses, and big nose. We'll catch up later. Later, Kalinka. Have fun with your child watching Ponyo, whatever the hell Ponyo is. Night of Hopex says, noticed you and the missus have lost some weight. If that was stress-induced, take a break, you two. If it was intentional, then that's good to see. Stay healthy, buddy. Late happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Night. I've gone down and then back up a little bit. I don't know. I'm hovering around where I intend to be. I don't think it's stress-induced. It's just COVID, man. There's nothing to do. I'm not out doing stuff, so I eat less. Jeff the Gamer says, so if a company sends you a product with faulty batteries that can't be replaced, knowing that issue is a problem and doesn't tell the buyer and then refuses to refund the product, is that legal? It depends on the company. You can bring up a grievance with the Secretary of State where the company is registered, or maybe your own Secretary of State. I don't know where you are or what company it is, how big they are, stuff like that. But you can bring up the issue with them. And oftentimes, Secretary of State's offices will have a consumer advocacy group to deal with stuff like that, with unfair business practices. And you can check with them. But, yeah. Duden2217 says, friends, be not too dismayed. Remember that despite news, pop culture, social media, the coup, and election shenanigans, Trump probably won legitimately. People are not too far gone yet. That's an interesting take. Arctic Pride says, getting real tired of you complaining about cold, you perennial flower. Come talk to me when you've experienced 56 below zero without wind chill and thick ice fog, wimp. Then you will truly know what cold is like. Oh, I've gotten the 56 below zero, buddy, pal, not your friend guy. We've gotten there. Actually, when it gets that cold, I don't really feel cold anymore. It's weird. I hate it. Derpy Jew says, you gonna open a copy of Steel Sharks on air? Sure. Robert Levito says, there is no cyberpunk, only the grift. Renegade Shuriken says, someone else keep up the dirty song. I'm broke now. Siren Jag says, there is no Ricada, only Zool. Polio64 says, these chats are like call-ins, but you make money. Lil Poo-Poos says, read the next 3 chats in Kermit voice, please. Well, that's cheating. Automata says, some legal nerd should make a compelling series on the long war on the doctrine of first sale. Stuff like Lexmark versus SCC. I think, doesn't that Louis Rossman guy talk about it all the time? Okay. All right. I think we're at a pause. And now we can talk about Pennsylvania quickly. Where is that? Do I have that pulled up somewhere? Oh my gosh. I think I do. Is this it? Is this it? Notice of appeal. Oh, wait, here it is. Wait, no, this isn't. That's the injunction. Oh, come on! Is this it? It'll be here. Even if this isn't it, it'll be here. Go. All right. Here is this one. We'll take a quick look at this thing. Because this might make you mad. Gotcha Son says, "Oh, Kermit all night." Brian and Terrence says, "Great idea reading $2 chats, huh?" I mean, is Cyber Monday ever a great idea? Gerard Garvin says, "Does the green ring have better stats than the titanium one?" Yes. ISJ322 says, "The Goyim no." Squishy Hunter says, "Bennis." Bennis. Okay. Oh my gosh, look at that. Terrible, terrible placement. So this is the opinion from the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at this. If you remember, this was the Republicans stating, by the way, it was unconstitutional, as in not at all constitutional to change the way voting is done in Pennsylvania. They did not amend the Constitution to allow the law change to absentee or mail-in voting. By the way, someone corrected me. Absentee and mail-in voting are two separate things in Pennsylvania, which then leads to a question that Uncivil Law has been talking about over the past couple days. Is it actually unconstitutional? Which is a fair question. Unfortunately, we don't know, because the Supreme Court cucked us on the answer. They were supposed to find out, but they chose not to. Uncivil Law was suggesting that it was constitutional to change the laws and not a violation of the language of the Constitution to change the law in the way that they did. Now, the constitutional change is Senate Bill 413. That is not in effect yet. It can't be, because that would be unconstitutional. So the question then is Act 77, which actually created all the absentee and mail-in voting processes. Was that constitutional? Senate Bill 413 was the constitutional amendment. Act 77 was the legal act to change the process. Uncivil Law looks at it. He says, no, it's not against it, because the Constitution of Pennsylvania doesn't actually restrict absentee voting to these 4 exceptions. It just provides 4 exceptions to allow absentee voting, but it's not limited to that. That's a reasonable take. There's nothing wrong with that take at all. He may be absolutely correct. And that may be why they believe they were able to pass this law. Because people ask, well, how can a legislature pass an unconstitutional law? Well, they do it with frequency. It's just not readily apparent that it will be unconstitutional, or they think that it's constitutional and the court reads it a different way, whatever it may be, right? It's not always nefarious to pass a law and have it be unconstitutional. So that's how Uncivil Law reads it, and he may be right. The way I read it, I defer a little bit to the Republicans in their interpretation of it. I think if you're going to lay out 4 exceptions that allow for absentee voting, then those are probably the reasons that the people who wrote the amendment at the time wanted to have as the exceptions to the rule of showing up in person. That's how I read it. So I say it's maybe not constitutional. And there's nothing wrong with that opinion either, right? Clearly, the parties in this thing think those 2 things, okay? And so what you would do is go to the court and have them resolve the dispute. Did they do that? No. So now we don't know if it's constitutional, which is just ridiculous. But here we go. They vacate the Commonwealth Court's order preliminary enjoining the Commonwealth from taking any further action regarding the certification of the results and dismiss with prejudice a petition for review filed by the Honorable Mike Kelly, Sean Parnell, Thomas Frank, Nancy Kierzek, Derek McGee, Robin Souter, and Wanda Logan. All other outstanding motions are dismissed as moot. So, this thing is done. Dead. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court has killed it. They can attempt to petition the U.S. Supreme Court to hear this case, but this is a case of state law, a state Supreme Court interpreting a state's constitution. The off-handed theory would be similar to something like in Bush v. Gore. It is a state law question, but it involves a federal question because it involves a federal election. 2 federal elections specifically. And so, it's possible the Supreme Court could hear it on that ground. Sean Parnell, for what it's worth, has said it's not over. Nothing is over, he says. And so maybe then they will be bringing this a petition to the U.S. Supreme Court. Maybe they already have, and I haven't seen it. It's entirely possible. I don't know what they will do. I can only speculate. I think that the odds of the Supreme Court taking that case are not huge, although maybe with the other Pennsylvania Supreme Court case petition, they'll combine the issues. Maybe. I don't know if they will find that fair, but it's possible. So until then though, it's done. It's out. So let's check this out. Renegade Shuriken says, screw it. Marbles and playthings at 4:30. There came a young lady. She looked like a pretty young creature. She sat on the grass. She pulled up her dress and she showed them her feature. RW Bimby says, maybe they legalized unconstitutional voting. They did. I mean, they did. Basically. Ken Jennings, Kiwi Farm says, check out Ken's first stream featuring Keck7 Go on the topic of dealing with depression and suicide. Then sub to Ken's OnlyFans for kinky Jeopardy themed pics, erotic use of Ricada Law merch, and paraphilias. Also, don't forget to buy Awoo merch and Dragon's Tea. Short Round says, use code GriftKing on OnlyFeds.com for 10% off, for 10% over 50. I think he means 10% off over $50. Don't mind me. I'm just herding crackheads at a dildo shop. Honestly, not even the weirdest thing I've typed tonight. As always, treat fitty for my homie, the Loch Ness Monster. So there you go, guys. If you go on OnlyFeds and want to buy some cool merch, enter GriftKing on OnlyFeds. But, oh, Bad Dragonite, I read it to myself, but I thought I read it out loud. Bad Dragonite says, Kermit cosplay at 2,000 likes. No. That sounds awful. Okay. Let's get back to this ruling. Petitioners filed the petition for review in Commonwealth Court on November 21st, 2020, setting forth a facial challenge to those provisions of Act 77 of 2019, establishing universal mail-in voting in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Petitioners sought a declaration that the aforementioned provisions were unconstitutional and void ab initio, and injunctive relief prohibiting the certification of the results of the general election held on November 3rd. As a remedy, petitioners sought to invalidate the ballots of the millions of Pennsylvania voters who utilized the mail-in voting procedures established by Act 77 and count only those ballots that petitioners deemed to be legal votes. Alternatively, petitioners advocating the extraordinary proposition that the court disenfranchise all 6.9 million Pennsylvanians who voted in the general election and instead direct the General Assembly to choose the Pennsylvania's electors. Petition for review at 24. Now, this is your clue of what the real ruling is. This is the thrust of the ruling. It's in this paragraph. on their remedy. They do not want to invalidate votes. They just don't. They don't want to do it. They're not going to do it. I've been saying this from all of these lawsuits. And I hate to be the doom pill. It's not a doom pill. It's that these judges, they're just not going to. It's their neighbors. It's their votes. It's their family's votes. It's everyone they know's votes. They live there. And especially the state justices and the state Supreme Court justices being elected, their careers are over if they do this. It's a tall remedy to ask for. And that doesn't mean that it's the wrong remedy. So don't mistake what I'm saying, please. I know people have been harping on me for this for the past couple weeks when I talk about it, because they're like, well, but the law is the law. I agree with you. The law is the law. But judges are also people, and people are terrible. So, the law may be the law, but these judges are still going to have to consider in the fact that they want to go to the grocery store and not die, frankly. And that's the real answer here, and we'll get to how they got that answer pretty quickly. Socialism is for figs. Says, I took a Xanax to help me through your doomer BS, and I'm sorry, but the courts are not the answer anyway. No, you're right. That's what I'm saying about all these court cases that's so difficult to communicate in a way that doesn't just piss people off, is that the courts probably aren't the way they're going, attempting to get they need the court cases. They need them because they have to give legitimacy to the claims of fraud and theft. They have to do that through the court as much as they can. They wanted more. They wanted to do more. They wanted to introduce this. They wanted to have a judge look at it. They wanted at least a couple judges, even on small issues that wouldn't overturn the election, to agree. If they could get small issues where they say, this was bad, this was bad, this is bad, that gives credibility to the other issues. That was probably a big part of the strategy, because I don't think their legal team are idiots, right? I don't think any of them are dumb. I think they're all probably better lawyers than me, certainly in this area of law. Well, I shouldn't say that, I guess. I don't know their backgrounds, but they probably, and they're certainly going to be more read up on it than I am, because they're actually getting paid a whole lot of money to do these cases. So they've got to research for all of the drafts of the briefs that they're doing. So I assume that they're not dumb, right? And they're lawyers all over the country, and they're all making similar arguments. I think the goal was to win on some small issues and then use that to push a public thrust. And they're going forward with the public thrust without winning on the small issues in courts, because they're finding out that they're coming up against brick walls in the court. And that's fine. They took their shot. Now they're taking it the rest of the way. Okay. Renegade Shuriken says, Rumples and laces and white fluffy duck. She said she was learning a new way to bring up her children so they would not spit. Okay. Lost Bullet says, Rackets is like Madcast Media, except successful. Renegade Shuriken says, while the boys in the barnyard were shoveling refuse and litter from yesterday's hunt, while the girl in the meadow was rubbing her eyes at the fellow down by the dock, he looked like a man with a sizable IROC, a very large car from the 80s. Archimedes says, with the amount of evidence Trump's team and Powell have, could they not use it to enact that executive order from 2018? An executive order overturning the election would be terrifying. No, I don't think that executive order is what you think it's for. But yeah, no, the problem is if I am not okay with a sitting president using an executive order to keep himself in power. I don't care who it is. I'm not okay with that. If you're okay with that, that's fine. I think that kind of goes against my my principles, and I can't countenance that. No. Sorry. That is the type of oh Christ. That is the type of thing I don't really want to deal with. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Is it theoretically possible? I don't think that's what the 2018 executive order is for. So I don't know, I guess. I mean, it's theoretically possible that Trump could just order the military to enshrine his place in the White House. I think that's absurd. I think that's less likely than him having the Electoral College overthrown through persuasion. I think, or the not Electoral College overthrown, the electoral votes of enough states withheld to invoke the 12th Amendment, I think is a more likely outcome than Trump executing a military coup. But what's funny is the likely scenario that's been breathlessly reported in the news is that Trump plans on doing a military coup, which I think is a ridiculous notion. I don't think there's any evidence of that at all. And he kind of slapped down a reporter the other day, I think it was on Wednesday last week, who said, "Do you plan to peacefully leave the White House if the Electoral College votes you out?" And he said, "Of course I will. You know I will. You know that." And it was a pretty sobering moment, and a highlight on just how awful the media has been about this. So socialism is for figs, says Rico Rudy is not dumb. He is a master and appear weak when you are strong. The Art of War. Trump is well versed in that book if you trust his documentary. Well, the problem is you can be strong, but your position can still be weak relative to your opponent. So it's hard to say. We'll see. I'm like I said, I would like nothing more than Trump to somehow pull it off, because I think it'd be the funniest thing I've ever seen. But Renegade Shuriken says, home in the country with a big fence out front. If he asked her politely, she'd show him her little pet dog who was subject to fits. And its name was Gunt. Dex Terminax says, there once was a man named Sweeney who spilled gin all over his weenie. Not being uncouth, he added vermouth, and then he slipped his date a martini. Renegade Shuriken, oh, come on! Says, and maybe she'd let him grab hold of her small, tender hands with a movement so quick, and then she'd bend over and suck on his candlestick. Renegade Shuriken says, candy so tasty made of butterscotch, and then he'd spread whipped cream all over her cookies that she had left out on her shelf. This is weird. This is getting weird. And yes, I will address the Ralph stuff from yesterday as soon as we're done with this bit here that I'm getting to about this court. Upon consideration, back to the document, upon consideration of the parties' filings in Commonwealth Court, we hereby dismiss the petition for review with prejudice based on petitioners' failure to file their facial constitutional challenge in a timely manner. Petitioners' challenge violates the doctrine of laches, given their complete failure to act with due diligence in commencing their facial constitutional challenge, which was ascertainable upon Act 77's enactment. It is well established that laches is an equitable doctrine that bars relief when a complaining party is guilty of want of due diligence in failing to promptly institute an action to the prejudice of another. Stilp versus Hafer. Now, I think there's a debate to be had over whether laches is an appropriate remedy on a facially constitutional challenge. Personally, imagine, if you will, Brown versus Board of Education, right? Because if you don't know, Brown versus Board of Education says that the 14th Amendment plainly stood against the segregation of schools in the South. Now, the 14th Amendment was passed in like 1869, 1870. Brown versus Board was 1954, 1955, something like that. And they plainly found that the 14th Amendment made it illegal. So imagine Brown versus Board, if you will, right? Where they go up and say, yeah, so we think segregation of public schools is unconstitutional. So, well, look, that was ascertainable at the passage of the 14th Amendment. And if not then, at least when the Jim Crow laws implementing segregation were passed. So you should have sued back then. No equality for you, right? Latches. Sorry. Too bad for you. Or how about if they would have said in the Texas anti-sodomy case, where they're like, well, we think it's a clear violation, a facial violation of the Fourth Amendment, that the police are coming in and, and also the 14th Amendment, that the police are coming in to our house while we're being gay lovers and interrupting our gay lovemaking, and they're only doing that to gays. So that's a violation of equal protection. It's a violation of our rights of privacy. And they said, whoa, sorry, sodomites. Your sodomy's unequal treatment was ascertainable at the passage of the 14th Amendment. And you waited till, 2005 or something to bring suit? Too bad on you. Too bad on you. That is not something that we countenance. And I don't think a facial challenge the constitutionality of a statute should be subject to latches. Now, maybe the court finds the remedy to be too extreme in the face of the timeliness, and they rule on the merits of whether or not the statute is constitutional, but then they decide that they're not going to invalidate the votes. That's certainly reasonable. That's something they could do, and they chose not to. Which leads me to a conclusion. Awig just pointed it out in the chat. He worded it as, this is why uncivil law is clearly incorrect on the constitutionality. And I think we can humbly suggest that the Supreme Court at least has a strong suspicion that the statute is unconstitutional. I mean, maybe there's some case law that could be presented that would change their minds, but I think their initial reaction is, oh, this is unconstitutional. And we don't want to consider having to put up the remedy. You got some poison? No, sorry. I think that is a very possible indication of why they used latches to dismiss this outright. And I don't think it's an appropriate remedy for this type of case. I mean, I see, and I'm sympathetic to the argument, at least from the judge, that we don't want to disenfranchise voters. I can at least understand the position. I can. And I think that is, even if they ruled that this was unconstitutional, that would say, due to the extraordinary nature of this election, we're not, and the timeliness issues of this, we're not willing to do that. Although they know what happens if they do that, right? That emboldens the Republican Congress in Pennsylvania to go ahead and invalidate the votes if the judges aren't willing to. But they've got a ruling saying that, yeah, this is clearly unconstitutional. Now the Republicans have all the ammunition they need. Oh, the judges weren't willing to do the remedy because it's a political question. Well, we are willing to do the remedy because we are politicians, and we believe that the vote's integrity is too important, and the following of constitutional principles. And everybody calls them a hypocrite, and they're all voted out in 2 years, and that's how it goes. I think they could do that. I think they would do that, or be more likely to do that, if the Pennsylvania Supreme Court were to issue a ruling that was favorable, even if the remedy wasn't. Uncivil Laws in chat. Hey, buddy. What's up? Yeah, he said no personal offense taken. It was a fair reading of the opinion. Yeah, and I don't, and like I said before, by the way, all the respect in the world to uncivil law. I like him very much, and I think his reading of the constitutionality is a fair question. That's the frustration that I have about this ruling is we don't get the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's word on what the hell is constitutional or not in this case. Okay. Want of due diligence demonstrated in this matter is unmistakable. Petitioners filed this facial challenge to the mail-in voting statutory provisions more than 1 year after the enactment of Act 77. At the time this action was filed on November 21st, 2020, millions of Pennsylvania voters had already expressed their will in both the June 2020 primary election and the November 2020 general election. Notice the language that they're using here. This just goes back to what I'm saying. There's no way they were going to invalidate the votes. They weren't going to invalidate the votes. They're not going to invalidate the votes. This is going to be a hard sell to any judge, but specifically elected judges in the state courts. The 2020 general election were being tallied, with the results becoming seemingly apparent. Nevertheless, petitioners waited to commence this litigation until days before the County Board of Elections were required to certify the election results to the Secretary of the Commonwealth. Thus, it is beyond cavil that petitioners failed to act with due diligence in presenting the instant claim. And again, I don't agree with that because I think there's a high likelihood. I think there's a high likelihood that had they brought this petition prior to the election, that the court would say that this was an alleged injury and not an injury in fact. Now, it doesn't mean that it is an alleged injury and not an injury in fact. We don't know how the court would rule on that. Theoretically, they would be able to bring it a facial challenge to the statute as an injury in fact and say this will cause injury based on how this looks. Theoretically, they can do that. We won't know what the Supreme Court would have done, and it's really easy for the Supreme Court now to say that that was the proper time. But it's very, very possible in the same way that the Supreme Court would have said the issue isn't ripe. The issue isn't ripe because we, for example, don't know how many people will utilize the mail-in voting system. We don't know if there will be a significant number of mail-in voters versus absentee voters. Even if they could guess, they wouldn't necessarily know. So they could say this is not ripe for challenge at this time and deny it. Now, had they done that, it would have precluded a laches decision now. So arguably, they should have. Arguably, they should have done it then, but well, it was passed prior to COVID, wasn't it? October 31st. So then November, December, January, February, March, April. They would have had to file this by April 30th, I guess. Would have been their deadline for the 180 days. Actually, a little earlier than that. Probably April 28th, 27th, I don't know. Count out the 180 days that they mention in the decision here. So I guess they would have had to file it in April. That's before the primaries. Or they would have had to file it after the primaries and say this will affect the general election. I mean, maybe. Maybe. But it still doesn't answer the question, is the law constitutional or not? Because if the law is unconstitutional, you still have a problem to resolve. You just don't have a present remedy. And they're just they're letting it go. Right now, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is fine having a potentially unconstitutional law on the books without reviewing the merits, and they're not going to get to they could have even limited the issue on this case and said, you know what, we don't think that it's appropriate to remedy this at this time, and we're going to limit this issue to whether or not the law is unconstitutional in general and treat this as a facial challenge on a regular schedule, on a regular docketing schedule, and then they'd hear it, next year sometime. In theory, they could have done that. So, okay, equally clear is the substantial prejudice arising from petitioners' failure to institute promptly a facial challenge to the mail-in voting statutory scheme, as such an action would result in the disenfranchisement of millions of Pennsylvania voters. Remembering that many of the people in this case were not actually candidates when the law was passed, necessarily, and certainly had not won their primaries yet. Because remember, their primaries had this voting scheme in them. And I would also humbly suggest that a primary is not in any way comparable to a general election. A general election is massive in scope. The participation rates are considerably higher, and it involves both parties. The primaries are single-party elections, typically done by party loyalists or party insiders. They have special rules around them in many states. They're a different animal. Okay. Accordingly, we grant the application for extraordinary jurisdiction, vacate the Commonwealth Court's preliminary order enjoining the Commonwealth from taking any further action regarding the certification of the results, and dismiss with prejudice petitioner's petition for review. All other outstanding motions are dismissed as moot. Chief Justice Saylor files a concurring and dissenting statement in which Justice Mundy joins. Both of these guys, if I'm not mistaken, basically said they agree with the outcome, but their dissenting statement is we still have an unconstitutional law, or potentially unconstitutional law on the books, and we need to deal with that. If my understanding is correct, that is the dissent. But I didn't read their dissenting opinions. I just read a blurb about them. I didn't want to sit and dwell on it because it doesn't matter to the election right now. So, Pennsylvania, you have 7 elections to deal with, and those are your Supreme Court justices. I think they'll be dragged out over several years. At least in Minnesota, that's how it works. So good luck. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta catch up on these. Dang. Socialism is for Fig says, do you think Biden had his ankles broken by the Philly mob? Oh my gosh. Super Iron Bob says, you heard it, boys. Separate but equal is back in Pennsylvania by Latches. Well, that's one way to look at it. Koki-san says, Kermit's voice, if you don't buy Wilkins coffee today, Joe Biden will sniff your daughter's hair, your wife's hair, and your mother's hair, and your underwear. All hail Joe Biden, our violent savior. Cormoran says, Latches. Can Trump hire the lock-picking lawyer? Not with a T. Latches, just L-A-C-H-E-S. Short round. With another 350 says, the people calling for civil war are the same as privileged leftists calling for communism. You have no idea how horrible it will actually be and won't listen to people who have suffered through it. But peaceful doesn't mean harmless. Remember that. There you go. Renegade Shuriken says, F YouTube, it won't let me finish the song. Automata says, zip it, Nick. They were late and flamboyant, and now we have to pretend that law is constitutional in perpetuity. That makes sense for how laws work. It's kind of how it is. Robot Addicted says, soapbox axed by big tech, ballot box by fraud, jury box might be ruined by spineless judges. Scary stuff. Last box is a bad box. Renegade Shuriken says, still happy to support your grift, Nick. Hey, thank you. Oh, he says gift, but then he corrected it in the next one, says grift, damn it. Bob the Troll King says, completely off topic, but I am drunk off of White Claw Blackberry Seltzer. Wait, and Glenlivet 12 as a mixed drink. Life is good, y'all. Enjoy the show, folks. I think I was going to have to call you a white girl, but I'm glad you added the Glenlivet 12 to it to man it up a little bit. TLJ Screwjob says, do the cosplay. Think of all the grift money. Understatement says, then how was the September Supreme Court case still heard? The September Supreme Court case. You're talking about, oh yeah, the one that's still sort of pending about extending the deadline. Every game played says it'll be ironic if this case is used as a precedent for some other unconstitutional act. Cheech says, Hail War Campaign. Robert Levito says, there once was a man named Nick, known quite well for the grift. I suck at rhymes, so I won't waste your time. Just read my chat, you stick. Gotcha Son says, can't stop Kermit rackets. Cars in Depth says, can the IRS prosecute 74 million Americans for refusing to pay for the deep state? Yes. Daka Bobo says, glad the people that ran for a position with make tough decisions at top of the job description are too scared to do their job. Unanswered question says, so the Pennsylvania Supreme Court seems to be okay with a potentially unconstitutional law with obvious fraud. So to them being reelected is more important than the people's voices being silenced by an alleged fraudulent election. I'm so glad they have their priorities straight. Well, that's what you get with elected judges, in a way. The good news is you can elect them out. If they were appointed for life, like a federal judge, you'd be stuck with them forever. Which would maybe be worse. All right, let's talk very briefly about the Ethan Ralph situation from yesterday. Okay? If you don't know, Ethan Ralph was live streaming from Arizona, where there was a massive hearing today and also some legal news. Down in Arizona, a massive hearing laying out the evidence of fraud. Now, critics of these hearings, like the one in Pennsylvania, the one in Arizona, they're going to try and get one in Georgia and Michigan and Wisconsin if they can, I'm sure. But the Arizona hearing, the critics of these will say, well, there's no cross-examination, there's no verification, there's no rules of evidence. Well, too bad, shitheads. Too bad. You guys have been rejoicing that the courts won't hear the cases. Okay, well, if you can't get a judicial remedy, get a political one. Because here's the real weird thing about our republic, and that is that basically, even though every state has a popular vote, the state legislatures can, if they so choose, go, nah, and just write a law, basically, that says, on this year, our electors are going to be these guys, because we said so. Piss off and eat garbage, you raccoon. Right? Like, they can say, because raccoons eat garbage. They can say that if they want. They can do that. That is within their ability to do so. The Pennsylvania State Supreme Court has mentioned that that was a proposed remedy. That's because that's the proposed remedy, is that the legislature can either withhold their electors or they can pick different electors. They don't have to pick the electors that the people choose through a popular vote. So, if you don't like the evidentiary process of the hearings, maybe you should have let it go to court and just beaten them in court with data. Why won't you? Why won't you do it? Did I get way off? I got way off on this. Okay. Back to the Ethan Ralph scenario. Ethan Ralph was down there in Arizona for this stuff. There's a big rally and all that stuff, and he was streaming with Nick Fuentes earlier. Congrats to all the success with that. Yesterday night, he's at the pool at the hotel with some lady. I don't know if it's Pay. I don't know who it is. I'm not following it. I wasn't following anything. Here I was I was reading about Minneapolis City Council. Remember just a couple weeks ago, the Minneapolis City Council was bitching at the police chief because they're like, why is there all this crime? And he's like, you took away our money and that got rid of officers and they're leaving and everybody hates us. And they're like, well, that's ridiculous. We have our own private security now. They're proposing more cuts, more funding cuts, and a reduction of officers. So that's what I'm doing. And then suddenly I'm getting tagged by several different people and my Discord is telling me stuff. And turns out Ralph has been detained. Everybody said arrested. Some people had said swatted or whatever, but Ralph has been detained is what it ended up being. It was a temporary detention, an investigatory detention, and then the police let him go after determining that there was nothing going on. It seems like someone called the police on Ralph because they knew where he was. He was live streaming from the hotel pool, and that was enough. And I thought it was a weird situation in general because the cops came up and basically just said, you're coming with us, and didn't really say why. So, but whatever. So then there became this thing where me, little old helpless me, is supposed to somehow condemn the person who did this. But I don't know who did it. So then I'm supposed to condemn a group of people who did it. But I don't know if the group even did it. I don't know who did it. I don't fucking care who did it because it's the internet. It could be literally anybody. So, I kind of shrugged it off, but I will say this. Live streamers may be assholes. I know I am. But whatever we are, at the end of the day, we're just normal people. And you should never call the cops on anybody unless they're actively committing a crime against you. Like that's, and barely then, in all honesty, just shoot them. In Minecraft, it's a joke, but really, like, I think that's lame. So, I've said my piece on it. Whoever called the cops on Ralph, that was a lame thing to do. It's not funny. It's not whatever. In my opinion, it's just shitty. It's just shitty. What else is shitty is demanding me to respond to any of it. That's shitty too. It's not anywhere near as shitty as calling the cops on people. But yeah, like, I'm not the internet's dad. I don't want to be the internet's dad because my kids will probably put me in a nice home when I'm crazy. The internet will put me in a shit home when I'm crazy. So, there you go. Anyway, that's my piece on it. And may I never comment on anything on the internet ever fucking again, please. I'm so tired of this shit. With the drama, like, you need to have an opinion on the drama, but I don't want one. I don't even want to know about the drama. I don't want to know it existed. I want to talk about law and anime and I want to talk to people and have fun. And I don't want to be responsible for anybody else's actions. Ever. Okay. Let's see. Mega says uncivil law should join to read super chats for you. Mr. Kelso says Thomas Wichter says Trump has it all and waiting till the right moment to release incriminating evidence. Military likely has. Everything else is a distraction and meaningless to what's really happening. The right moment has already come and gone infinity times. Every moment is the right moment. There is no waiting for the right moment when it comes to an election. There isn't what we need to do is strategize the proper time later. Nope. Now is always the right moment. You don't have time. So anybody who says that Trump's waiting for the right moment, no. Now, Trump may be waiting for the right evidence. That's a different question. I don't know if that's true. It doesn't matter. There is no waiting for the right moment. Like the Kraken lawsuit or whatever, waiting till November 25th, may actually be fatal to it entirely. That's how the Pennsylvania suit's going. It may end up being fatal to the Kraken lawsuit. We won't know. They have until December 14th at the latest. At the latest. Now, some of these challenges have to wait until after certification of the results. Those tend to be administrative and procedural challenges. Like, you have to contest the election post-certification because that's what the statutes say. Okay. Those aren't legal challenges in the same way that we're talking about with allegations of fraud and stuff like that. Those things really need to have already been filed. The Kraken lawsuit is about as late as it could possibly come. And like I said, it may be fatal. So I hope not. I don't want a procedural defect to be deciding the election either. Uncivil Law says, please sing. You want me to sing Barbie Girl? In what voice? Like the Barbie Girl voice? Oh, like Aqua did? That would be terrible. Maybe I should sing it as Kermit. Something. God. I don't have it. I don't even want to do that. Very rude. Very rude. Yes, do that. Okay, I'll do it as Kermit. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life is fantastic. It's being plastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination, life is your creation. So there you go. I'm not going to do the Barbie girl song. Jesus. Blaine20 says, video of Dominion employee allegedly changing data on a memory card in Gwinnett County, Georgia, in your Discord DM. Oh, God. What is this? Let's see. Watch a Dominion representative at Gwinnett County Election Central responsible for tabulating ballots and certifying results. Download data to a USB from election management server. Plug it into a laptop. Manipulate the data, then palm the USB. That's 2 minutes. You want to watch this, guys? Should we watch this video? I guess we can watch this video. Okay. We'll check it out. I need my headphones. A crafty Paragok says this election, take the Hank pill and laugh. Do not cry for the destruction of the U.S. government's legitimacy. There's real questions about what you even get to do after this with what's going on in the election. So, yeah, it's fun. Detective Loki says, first time super chat. Hey, welcome. Says, hello. Love your content. Oh my goodness. Excuse me. Well, hello, Loki. Thank you. John Cook says, my uncle got into a collision traveling for Thanksgiving. He's been unconscious for over a week. Please look at GoFundMe.com /F/supporting Michael Lange. Man, I hope he turns out okay, buddy. Archimedes says, Arizona legislature is supposedly calling a special session. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute, and why they are doing that. That could be very, very interesting. The Pennsylvania legislature has apparently said they will not meet again before the electors are chosen or something. So the Pennsylvania Republicans are likely not an avenue for overturning this, but we'll see. Do I have you unmuted? I do not. Here we go.
What's this guy doing? See, she's looking at her Excel spreadsheet with notes, handing it to him.
Looking through some pens.
Nerd Boy's looking for a certain kind of pen for some reason.
Nerd Boy! Oh my goodness. Listen to the hatred.
He just pulled a USB out.
Did he?
Yeah.
Where is he
Just pulled
going?
a stick.
Oh my god, is he taking it to that laptop?
Yeah. That's exactly what he did.
It should not be connected.
Yeah, one
Okay.
of the USBs getting pulled out of a cabinet computer, and then I think he's on a mouse over there now.
So if you're not aware, election computers really shouldn't be hooked up to the internet for obvious reasons. And
Those look
election
like
data
files.
should be air-gapped from the
From a
internet.
distance, but I can't really tell. You know, like a big file folder.
Like a file manager.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Looks like large icons,
Yeah.
which would be weird to have.
Why would you want to have meaningful observation
Nobody uses that for.
of election workers?
They use that for looking at pictures, maybe. You know what I
Scanned
mean?
images?
Huh?
Scanned images?
Yeah, but I don't think he'd be transferring scanned images. See,
You're
he just
right,
pulled
I
the stick
saw
out of
it,
the
I
left
saw it.
now, and he's taking it back over.
What are you doing?
So what did he do with the stick? Doop, 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 doop. Derp, derp, derp.
You're
Oh
doing
my
this
god,
on
they
the-
derped him!
It's just what he looks like to me.
Took a notepad.
Derp, derp, derp.
Where is he going?
So that's that. Now, to provide the counter argument, we've no idea what actually transpired because they're way too far away, right? So we don't know. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good, but it could have been perfectly legitimate. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a process that would allow us to bring these claims and investigate them? So, damn. All right. Tyrannosaurus Rex says, can't decide if I want to paint my big marine as an iron snake or astral knight. What you say, chat? 1 for iron snakes or 2 for astral knights? Oh, here, I got a couple of these things. Crusader Saracen says, republics where one half of the electorate don't believe in the vote have the shelf life of milk on a radiator, combined with lots of guns and people losing their homes. Holy criminy. Combined with lots of guns and people losing their homes and businesses and mass social alienation. By Allah, this won't end well no matter who wins. Unanswered question says, Razorfist made a fantastic video talking about how this year they basically stolen a lot from us. Freedom and autonomy. And now they want to steal our vote, our last and strongest weapon against these pieces of trash. I hope those judges are voted out. Yeah. Colonel J says, hey, Nick, I re-listened to your COVID-19 debate maybe half a year ago. I thought you were right then, and I still think you're right now. You should give it a listen. With what we know, the other guy looks like a giant dummy. Cheers, pimp, and good show. Yeah, I don't even remember everything I said on that show other than I remember being correct then. The only thing I think I said the death toll would be much lower than it is. But nowhere near the millions that they were talking about. The debate was on the Kill stream, if anybody's curious about it. I don't remember the guy's name that I debated. He sent me a message the other day and asked if I would talk about something. I don't remember what it was. Sorry, I didn't respond. I'll try and find it. Crusader Saracen says state legislators / Congress picking the electors / voting has happened at least thrice. 1800 to 1824 and 1876. Yep. In 1824, I believe the election actually wasn't decided until 48 hours before election on March 2nd, back when inauguration was March 4th. Here's the having it happen in the 1800s is good, except we were different people, man. We believed in what was in the Constitution. They hadn't been through, in 1876, they had not been through over 100 years of democracy indoctrination. We didn't have a democracy then. We still don't have a democracy now, but people want it to be a democracy. They want it to. Billy Joe, Nick Ricada's great analysis doesn't look good. What do you want me to say? We don't know. Maybe the thumb drive had pictures of his kids on it. I don't know. Crusader Sarah's. Oh wait, nope, read that one. Bean Flicker. Since ignorance of the law is not a viable defense in the courts, wouldn't the same standard apply to legislatures? Not knowing it's unconstitutional or stopping the process halfway is also not an excuse, right? Oh, I didn't know it was illegal when we made it. Yeah, it's not an excuse. It's still whatchamacallit? It's still unconstitutional if it is unconstitutional. Automata says the AP has declared Biden the victor intensifies. In Fragano says Nick loves anus play. Robert Levito says there once was a king of the grift, and I tried giving him shit, but I still can't rhyme, and now he has my money. Send help. Belforus Knight says, give it to me straight, Nick. How much are Trump's chances? Really low. Personally, it seems like 15%. I think that's generous. Trump is kill and woke is good. Glad I got 10K in reserves to Poland. Yeah, I mean, the likelihood of Trump pulling off victory is very low. It's possible. It's just very, very low. Javier Miedo says, how would they impeach Kamala because of election? Because you can impeach anybody for anything. It's a political solution entirely. There's no requirement that there be a crime of any sort for impeachment. You just impeach them. And you say why they're impeached. The technical constitutional requirement is high crimes and misdemeanors, which is not anywhere defined at all. So it's literally just whatever you want it to be. They pee sitting down. Done. Which Kamala Harris probably pees standing up. Uncivil Law says, don't hold back because you woke up in the morning with initiative to move, so why make it harder? Don't hold back. If you think about it, so many people do. Be cool, man. Look smarter. Don't hold back. What is that? What is that? Vienticus Prime says the leash is the illusion of freedom. Yes. Yes. Best leash in your suit. The best leash. Yes. Gotcha. Yeah, Uncivil Law. What was that? Sounds like an 80s song. Which one? Okay. Chemical Brothers, Galvanize. Okay, I'm not familiar with it. The Physicality channel says, don't spend this all in one place, lawyer guy. I'll try not to. The best way to not spend $2 all in one place is to give your kids money. Because since they're kids, you can just give them a quarter and they're like, yes! Sucker. They won't even play a video game anymore. Socialism is for figs. Thank you for the donation. All right. What else are we talking about? The Kraken. McCracken. Let me point something out. If you watch my video I did earlier on the movement in the Kraken lawsuit, if you didn't, you should, because it's brilliant. Everything I do is brilliant. I'm just kidding. No, it's a fine video, short video, nice and digestible. I'll explain it briefly here in just a second. Oh, socialism's message got redacted. What did you want to say, man? Just tag me. I don't know what happened to your words. Google must have moderated it. Just tag me in it. You don't have to send another chat for it. Gerard Garvin says, drawstring hoodie looks good. Wear it every stream. No, it's too warm most days for that. But I got some cool air in here today. So here it is. Pearson v. Kemp. It's on Court Listener. And the reason I bring this up is it's in the description of the video earlier. You can get a link to this page if you don't want to search for it. You can find it there. And here's why I bring it up. It's got all of the affidavits and exhibits that are referenced in the thing, which is there's 30 of them. Or there's 30 total documents. So there's like 28 affidavits or whatever that you can check out. Remember the one thing I said earlier was a big, her case having any chance to do anything hinges heavily on the quality of the exhibits. So, I will point out, I will take a brave stance. I think that the Kraken lawsuit is unlikely to be successful. I just don't see it. Now, it hasn't been thrown out yet, though. So that's mildly promising. Okay? Socialism says, this is what he sent in his super chat, apparently. Trump can't lose. He just has to start his own government in Florida and start taking over states with the mass amount of followers that would help him. Boogaloo. Trump will be like the new Lee. Oh my goodness. Well, Crowder thinks otherwise. I fully respect Crowder's legal analysis. I just don't think that it's gonna go anywhere. It might. I'm happy to be wrong. That's the thing. There's no way to know at this point. There's no way to know at this point. I mean, there are some things we can say, yeah, that's good. But hell, up in Pennsylvania, they had a pretty damn clear constitutional issue. Whether or not the law is constitutional is different from having a legitimate question about whether or not the law is constitutional. They have an issue, and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania says, nah, we don't even want to hear it. So, and the lower court, which you would look to the lower court for guidance on how it might go, says, yeah, they've got a real question here. We need to answer this question. We need to answer this question so hard, we're going to prevent them from certifying the results until we get this question answered. Supreme Court's like, no. You don't understand, huh? We're denying this on latches. Yeah. So when I say that I don't think Sidney Powell's lawsuit is going to go, part of it's fatalism. Second part is they have similar latches-ish problems. Like a lot of these affidavits, hell, this one redacted affidavit, or this Harry Hursty affidavit. I haven't read all these, but his affidavit just reasserts stuff that he said in 2018 or 2019 and like early 2020 or 2017 or something. It's like, okay, well, shit. That sounds like that was a while ago. And the court's going to have the opportunity to say the same thing. I don't know if it means that they will say the same thing, but they're going to have the opportunity. So, yeah. So don't take my word as predictive. It's just my opinion on where I think things are going. I don't think this is going to go great, but it may. And what we've got here is Scheiße. I'll pull it back up. Amended order, that's not the one we want to talk about. Motion to intervene. Application for pro hoc vice. Order setting hearing on 6 motion. Here we go. This is the one we talked about earlier, or that I talked about earlier in the short video. And again, you can go check that out for the full breakdown, but oh wait. What? Okay. So Wednesday, December 2nd, there's a brief due. Look at this timeline. Remember, December 14th is the absolute drop dead day. It's the absolute drop dead day. December 14th. The salt must flow water latches. Okay, I'll explain it again in a minute. And we're already saying the defendant's brief opposed to these claims is due on December 2nd. Then a reply brief due December 3rd. And then a hearing December 4th at 10 a.m. Eastern. That leaves 10 days. 10 days for an order, an appeal, maybe a petition to the Supreme Court. Shit. 10 days for all this to happen. Running out of time. This is one of the big problems that I was talking about with the time. Is they just don't have any of it. But let's see what that order was for. I didn't realize that there was... This stuff is moving really fast, by the way. Here's the 1292B order. Blah. This the one? This is the late night order that I did in the video earlier today. Again, just for people who haven't checked it out. The long and short of this is they have to do their brief by December 2nd. We talked about that just a second ago. Defendants are hereby enjoined or restrained from altering, destroying, or erasing, or allowing the alteration, destruction, or erasure of any software or data on any Dominion voting machine in Cobb, Gwinnett, and Cherokee counties. So these are the 3 counties where the Dominion machines are to be preserved as is, preserved for evidence. And on the 4th, oh, that's the other thing. On the 4th, they're just going to rule on whether or not they have the ability to inspect them. So presumably, they'll have their hearing on the 4th. They'll maybe get a ruling right there at the hearing. And if they get the ruling giving them the go-ahead to inspect these machines, they'll send someone over right away, send the teams over right away to inspect them. How long is that going to take? All of the machines in those counties? Are they going to be held at separate buildings? All the machines are going to be held at separate buildings throughout the counties? That's what I would do if I was a dick, right? Doesn't say anything about moving the physical machines. So just go put them back at the vote locations. Make them drive across the entire county to inspect every machine. And if you think that's out of line, if you think that that's out of the realm of possibility, the Trump campaign has been trying to serve, apparently, one of the county officials in Georgia, I believe, and they locked the county building, and he's been hiding inside of his home, not accepting service, not answering the door. So if you think they won't pull like bullshit shenanigans, they're just doing it. They're already doing it. Randstein says, ever play Nier Automata? Nope. Highly recommend it. Emotions are prohibited and glory to mankind. Kind of like Equilibrium. Benjamin the Rogue says, so wait, now the rule of law is really just a rule of convenience? Kermit Voice, always has been. Bad Vibe says, here's the real doom pill. Governors, judiciaries, and elections, police. Is there any part of government or its systems that half the people haven't lost faith in? I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything. Here's the thing, though. This transitions into my next topic. Remember, I have idiots in the title. Let's talk about this. I point out here that the defendant's counsel also argued such forensic inspections would pose substantial security and proprietary and trade secret risks to defendants. I talk about this more in depth in the video. But this is to Dominion. That we risk their proprietary and trade secrets by inspecting their voting machines. Now, I mentioned this. I clipped this out. And I put this up on Razorfist's page. All right? I'll find it for you. Here we go. Find it this way. Okay, we'll do this in this sort of backwards order. I don't know. All right. Okay. Crusader Saracen says, speaking of Crowder, you should totally have Bill the Half-Asian Lawyer on as a guest. Would love to. I would love to. Don't know what you would talk about. That dude is sharp, and he'd be interesting to listen to. I like him. I like him a lot. I like Crowder, too, by the way. I like them. But it's always a matter of getting a hold of these people and, you know, getting their attention, then getting them to do it. In Kermit Boy says, when you whip out dat pimp hand, be quick as the wind. When your hoes be acting up, be calm like a forest. When some punk ass be stepping up, spit rhymes like hot fire. Most importantly, keep your pimp hand strong like a mountain. Quote, Sun Tzu, probably. So. And Cledge Fenrir says, seems someone removed the server from the Dominion machines in Georgia. Of course they would, right? Okay. So Razorfist says, I don't know who needs to hear this. Not a single county in the entire country has yet held a proper audit of the mail-in vote. Not one. None of them. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Just on the face of having a mail-in vote that is at least 10 times higher than any other mail-in vote in history, we should be auditing these things. We should be auditing these things based on that alone. All right, we've got a bunch of new people to this system. How are we not even auditing them necessarily with the presumption of fraud? We should just be auditing them to find out what we can learn about the process. Because the interesting thing is, if the rejection rate scales linearly as it should, then, you know, we should have higher rejection rates of these ballots. But it doesn't. According to this election, it does not. That alone deserves an audit. Why are the rejection rates lower in this election than the others? Are the people who traditionally use mail-in ballots prior to 2020, are they just collectively dumber than everybody else or less capable? Whereas when the general population came in who didn't use mail-in ballots before, they're all better at it universally. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't hold up to just a common sense understanding of how things work. Typically, if you have new users to a system, they'll be worse than the existing users. So you would think even that that the fail rate would go up a little bit, if anything, but at least would be consistent, linearly consistent with the inflation of population, because there's no special population that's using absentee or mail-in ballots that makes it obvious that they would be bad at it, whereas everybody else would be fine. So, if for no other reason, we should be auditing the mail-in vote for that reason. So I joke, look, Razor Fist, we don't need to audit. We know they're fine. Also, please don't inspect the election machines because of trade secrets of Dominion. We don't want to infringe on their proprietary software rights. Now, let's be clear on something, and this is something I mentioned in the other video. You do have a right to trade secrets and proprietary software in court. My opinion about that is that when you are submitting your software to guarantee a free and fair election in the United States, that your trade secrets and proprietary rights in that software are forfeit as part of the contract with the United States government. That's what my personal opinion on the issue should be, or is that's what my opinion on the issue is. That's how I think it should be. I don't think you get to say, we're going to count the votes in your country, but no one can look at our stuff because it's a trade secret. To me, that's very sus. That doesn't hold water. It doesn't make logical sense. Why would we entrust our vote to someone if we can't audit the vote? Other than to just trust me, bro. So that's my opinion, right? Now, I get a sad boy retweet it, right? Maybe do a modicum of research and read the contract, you hack of a supposed lawyer. Oh, the contract. Here we go. If the receiving party is required by court order. So here's Dominion's, I guess it's Dominion's contract. It doesn't really matter what's in Dominion's contract anyway. Like, protected information is protected at common law. But putting it in the contract, okay, going by the principles of contract, they have it here. I still don't believe that they should be able to contract out any of this. It doesn't matter to me. Because we have open, transparent, and free elections, presumably. So therefore, there is no confidential information in your code. There can't be. It has to be auditable. It should be open source. Anyone should be able to look at Dominion's code. And frankly, the notion of anything else is the most cucked fucking dick-sucking bullshit I've seen in my entire life. Talk about being up on a cleanup crew. This fucking chump right here. I can't think of anything more ridiculous than selling the integrity of the election to a private fucking company to protect my trade secrets on counting dots on a piece of paper. Fuck off with that noise. That is the dumbest proposition I've ever heard. And anyone who signed this contract should be shot. Should be fucking shot in the street. You're selling the Republic's integrity for a trade secret. So, naturally, I have to respond. Oh, he also says, it's no wonder your peers find you to be a joke, Ricada Media, when you just keep stepping on your dick like this. Well, I'm sorry, buddy, that it drags on the ground. It is really cumbersome. But sometimes I just can't avoid stepping on it. A problem you'll never have, I guess. So, I had to respond to this. Here we go. You're a moron who doesn't understand the difference between stating a rule, which I was not doing, and putting forth an opinion about how things should be. To clarify, you're a moron as a rule. You being aborted is an opinion of what should have been. And that's really the end of it. There's not much else to say other than other than this giant fucking sandy vagina has block-botted all of my followers. Because he's a massive sniveling pussy, and he can't deal with the fact that when he says something stupid, a bunch of people respond to him. It hurts his feelings. So he had to create a little bubble away from people who would disagree. So there you go. There you go. What a fucking baby. But yeah, so there's that. But this is something that leads me, this is emblematic of shit I deal with every day, which is fine. Because I could create a bubble. I could block him. I could get rid of negative opinions. I could just do that and have nothing but hand jobs all day or whatever, like I'm at an Asian massage parlor. But that's not what I do. It's not who I am. I will go ahead and let people say whatever they want, positive or negative. That's fine. That's the opinion. But it leads me to a point I wanted to make about this type of thing. This type of thing. There is the law, and you guys often get mad at me when I talk about how things are, right? When I talk about these rulings and I talk about why they happen, and I'm mad with you. I say mad at me. You're not really mad at me. You're just expressing frustration in the chat, and I'm mad with you. I am. I don't want things to go this way. I think Trump should have won the election. I don't want Joe Biden as president. I don't like him. I already hate almost everything he's done. He's likely going to ramp up COVID bullshit. By the way, did you see that Fauci is now out there saying, "Oh, we should really have the kids in school though." Hey, Fauci, you dumbass. You're the one. You and your people are the reason they took the kids out of school. Enjoy 80% of students getting Fs. You damaged this generation irreparably. You irresponsible piece of garbage. There were plenty of people out here saying, don't do this. Don't take the kids out of school. The transmission rate amongst kids doesn't seem to be a really big deal. And you all said, Fauci and his ilk being the you all said, oh no, well the kids will be asymptomatic carriers and they'll murder grandma and grandpa. Hey, probably not, because you know what the parents probably won't do? They won't bring a kid who goes to a germ-infested public school into the nursing home to lick grandma. It's just not going to happen because they actually like their relatives, unlike you fucking monsters who hate everybody you ever meet. We like the people around us for the most part. Or we at least tolerate them. And we're not going to throw their safety on the altar of my freedom until you tell us that we can't do something. Then we'll say, hey, wait, who are you to say I can't go somewhere? Fuck you, I'm getting in my car and going right now. Because that's how I am, and you can eat shit if you disagree with that. I don't have any time for this anymore. Liberty is more important than death. It is. It's very uncomfortable for people. It's uncomfortable for people to accept the fact that people will die. They will die if we don't lock down or wear a mask or whatever. They're going to die if we wear it too. Let's be real. But they may die in higher numbers. It might happen. I'm sorry. But there's nothing else to do about it. Locking us down, shutting down the economy is doing a different kind of damage. A different kind of damage. And this idea that we all have to submit. Here's the dumb thing. If they ask me to wear a mask, I wear a mask. I'll throw a mask on. I'm not going to be like crazy militant about it. I'll put a mask on to go to the store. Sure. I want to go in the store. Store asks me to wear a mask. I'll wear a mask most of the time. You tell me I must? Now I suddenly don't want to. You've taken what was not a big deal to me and you've made it an issue of it's illegal not to now, huh? The $1,000 fine now, huh? Well, fuck you. Now I don't want to wear one. Vanticus Prime, spam the chat with statistics. The economy was way better before COVID. Take that. But you know what? Here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. Let's say I don't want to wear a mask. That means I walk into a store and I have some percentage chance of getting or spreading COVID. Okay? Let's say you don't want COVID. You don't want it from me. Don't go to the store. Solved your problem right there. Don't go to the store. Oh, well, that's not fair. How do I get my groceries? I don't know. Why don't you do the fucking curbside pickup? Why don't you do that? Like, you don't want to go in the store, you do the order online and pick it up at the curb. Target, Walmart, all major stores are doing this. You do that instead of me. How about that? Well, I don't want to get the virus. Then don't go outside. Don't do anything. Stay in your home. Don't infringe on my rights for what you don't want. I've had no regard for this virus. None. I go outside. I lick handrails. It doesn't matter to me. But if you don't want to do that, I'm not going to make you go outside. I'm not going to make you leave your house. I'm not going to make you go to the store. I'm not going to make you be within 6 feet of anybody. Why are we reversing this? Why are we reversing these roles? And here's the real fucking shit test on all this. Here's the real test on all this. Hold on, let me find it. Want to see what it is? Because this... Let's take a look at this. This is your COVID. This is your COVID. We're going to take a look at this in just a second. We need to act boldly now if we are to avoid economy-wide lockdowns to halt climate change. We may need climate lockdowns to halt climate change. Mariana Mazzucato writes, that might mean governments limiting private vehicle use, banning consumption of red meat, etc. We must do capitalism differently to avoid that. We picked one of the least scary infections. One of the fucking least scary infections in recent history to throw our liberty directly into the hands of our rulers. And guess what? Everybody will say, oh, well, they won't do it on climate stuff because people don't believe that the climate is that risky. I got a whole shitload of people who think that COVID isn't that big of a deal. Whole shitload of them. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter. Won't matter. It's coming. And if it's not climate change, it's the next illness that hits. It's the next one. The next one, they lock you down again. And eventually, any of you Catholic, now you measure things in ordinary time, and then you have the different like seasons and feasts that occur. Yeah, ordinary time will be the lockdowns soon. Probably within our lifetimes. Ordinary time will be the lockdowns, and we'll have periods of freedom. Let's see. Geekosity says, what do you think will actually happen to regular citizens if tech companies eventually become our one true overlords? Oh man, we will live great, convenient lives with just no freedom or privacy. Because they have to keep us happy. They'll be great and they'll be convenient. And they'll be relatively safe, you know, for the most part. I said, read Ender's Game. Read Ender's Game, and look at the Americans in Ender's Game. That's. I think Orson Scott Card has several prophetic books. Ender's Game is one of them. Aowen Scanlon says, don't love Trump, but I do love transparency. Are you familiar with open source ledgers a la Bitcoin? Do you think that could work for voting? I've mentioned that, and people have yelled at me both ways on it. I don't know. I think a lot of things could work for voting. The question is, can we keep the ballot secret? I'm a fan of secret ballots. Bad Vibe says, nice. Opinion, his mother should have swallowed. JMH016 says, you mean like if you were Legal Eagle? I am not, and will never be Legal Eagle. Gross. Bad Vibe says, 280,000 people have died from pneumonia this year, none of them with COVID. 190,000 more than last year. 2019, 48,000. Really? Bad Vibe says, dictators should be skinned and boiled. He also says, number one cause of death is life. We don't have expiration dates stamped on our butts. Live life while you can. Well, except for in that Nickelback video, right? Then you know. Then we can see when people are going to die. Biden the Coldman says, hey, Nick, take my money. I will. And Silky Johnson says, the founders fought a war for their liberties. They knew that once you give tyrants just a tiny bit, they take and they take. They knew its importance and what must be done to protect those liberties. In the old days, these assholes would be hung in public. Here we go. Let's go to Market Watch. There we go. Sharu says, so what do we do about this authoritarianism? Just sitting around depressed isn't solving anything. I don't know, man. We were supposed to vote. But now people don't believe in the vote. Oh, also, if you're wondering who this opinion maker is, let's look her up real quick. Yep. Piss off, Wikipedia. No! Go away. Here's the lady. Mariana Mazzucato, an economist with dual Italian-U.S. citizenship. She's a professor at University College London in Economics of Innovation and Public Value. And she is the founder-director of the Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose. She's also a member of the Scottish Government's Council of Economic Advisors and South Africa's Economic Advisory Council. 2019, she joined the UN Committee for Development Policy. She's the author of The Entrepreneurial State, Debumping Public versus Private Sector Myths, and The Value of Everything Making and Taking in the Global Economy. 2016, she co-edited a book, Rethinking Capitalism, Economics and Policy for Sustainable and Inclusive Growth, with Michael Jacobs. In 2013, the New Republic called her one of the 3 most important thinkers about innovation. Ooh. Yeah. Let's see. Let's take a look at her current career. Present, University College London, okay. Research management, professional activities. From 2015 to present, she works at the Council of Economic Advisors for the Scottish Government. Scientific advisor at IPPR Italian Parliamentary Budget Office, where she still works today. Meanwhile, she's a commissioner at the IPPR Commission on Economic Justice. 2017, she became a member of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network Leadership Council and Citra's advisory panel in Finland. From 2018 to present, she works as special advisor for the EC Commissioner for Research, Science and Innovation, Carlos Meodas, and has recently authored a high-impact EC report, Mission-Oriented Research and Innovation in the European Union. She also is special advisor to the Secretary General of the OECD, Angel Gurria, for the OECD's New Growth Narrative from 2018 to present. She's a current member of the UN Committee for Development Policy, which she joined in 2019. Bitch has like 19 jobs. Like 19 jobs. All active. Guessing each one of them pays pretty well. I bring this up because this isn't just a rando's opinion. This is a policymaker. Governing advisory board member. Trustee at Green Alliance. 2013, she joined the advisory board at UNU Merit and the scientific advisory board at Lund University. Advisory board in political economy research at Goldsmiths. Advisory board at Citra, the Finnish Innovation Fund. Institute for Public Policy Research as a trustee. Vice President, International Schumpeter Society. Schumpeter? Damn near killed her. She also joined the advisory board at Danish Design Center. Since 2017, she's joined the advisory board at Research Council of Norway. Other activities. Commissioned to write a report for the Brazilian government's Ministry for Science, Technology, and Innovation on Brazil's innovation policy, published April 6, 2016. First of a series of lectures organized by John McDonnell, intended to broaden the debate around economics. And the first woman to give the Raul Prebisch lecture organized by the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean in Santiago, Chile in April 2016. She's also a regular contributor to Project Syndicate since 2015. That place doesn't sound ominous at all. I have no idea what Project Syndicate is, but if there was an organization I wouldn't trust just based on the name alone, it's Project fucking Syndicate. So anyway. Let's I just want to point out that this isn't a rando, right? This isn't just like some professor of economics from Dartmouth with no other. This chick glows in the daylight. David Edward says, until we stop using software in elections and start using voter ID, every election is suspect. Plus, my state decided California and New York should decide where our electoral votes go. So why should I bother to vote? Democracy. Well, thankfully, that state compact would need some, presumably would need some approval of Congress. But yeah, it's getting there. Mulfiard says, dictators, boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em up your ass. Mr. Kelso says, we have retinal scans, facial recognition, print scans with two-step, unlock text and patterns already on our phones. I say use available tech versus big tech we can use to verify SSN phone voting. Necessary evil. I'm opposed to anything where a vote can be traced to me, but I think that we can do it. I think if we just had user encryption keys that we had somehow like a voting card with an encryption key in it or something that we set up, a phone, I don't know. There's probably a way to do it that we could do some sort of technologically assisted voting that would allow things to be tracked, but just not tracked specifically to us. Bad Vibe says, people like this have too much influence, multinational policy guidance as well as global. Midnight in Exile says, we need a term to differentiate between Fed glowies and NWO glowies. All right, Let's take a look at this. We are approaching a tipping point on climate change when protecting the future of civilization will require dramatic interventions. Very dramatic. London Project Syndicate. Oh, see? See who it is. Of all the organizations that I just read off that this lady's a part of, who is it? Project Syndicate. I don't trust shit from Project Syndicate. As COVID-19 spread earlier this year, governments introduced lockdowns in order to prevent a public health emergency from spinning out of control. Did they do that? Are you winning? In the near future, the world may need to resort to lockdowns again, this time to tackle a climate emergency. Shifting Arctic ice, raging wildfires in the western U.S. states and elsewhere, and methane leaks in the North Sea are all warning signs that we are approaching a tipping point on climate change, when protecting the future of civilization will require dramatic interventions. If you don't remember, we already reached past, shat on, walked away, walked back, drank, and vomited on the tipping point. It's already over. We've been told, we were told the tipping point was coming. It came, it went. Climate is done. There is no fixing it. Can we move on with our lives now? Do you guys remember this? I remember this. It was a couple years ago even. You can't fix it. We tipped past the point of no return. It happened. It's done. It's done. We're done, and I'm done with it. Now, I just fart only outside. It's like, oh, I got gas. I'm going outside to pump methane into the air because I can't make it better, so I might as well make it worse. But we're now approaching a tipping point again. All right. When protecting the future of civilization will require dramatic interventions. Under a climate lockdown, governments would limit private vehicle use, ban consumption of red meat, and impose extreme energy-saving measures, while fossil fuel companies would have to stop drilling. To avoid such a scenario, we must overhaul our economic structures and do capitalism differently. All right, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what newfangled capitalism she's proposing. Houston says, all glowies get run over. My Subaru doesn't discriminate. Brock M says, the despotic principles of the Dark Ages are back, baby. You'll be forced to kiss the ring of the deep state or be excommunicated from life. Local Enterprise Broadcasting says, set up a voting system that works like the blockchains of cryptocurrencies. Daniel Sheffield says, ever hear Dr. Corsi's take on Trump's case/strategies? Nope. Robot Addicted says, needs an Apollo-esque project, not lockdowns. Kermit the Frog says, shut up. 50 years ago, we'd have you upside down with a fucking fork up your ass. They're going to arrest me for calling a black man a jogger. You can talk. You can talk. You can talk. You're brave now, motherfucker. Throw this ass out. He's a jogger. Okay. Bad Vibe says, to debunk the hospitalizations, hospital overload, the flu hospitalizations, 100K monthly average during its peak 4 months. So far, COVID hospitalizations is 75,100 a month. Yeah, well, the thing you're missing, Bad Vibes, is that the nurses are not out due to COVID. The nurses are out doing Instagram posts about having people die in their arms so they can gain clout for their fucking OnlyFans from their Instagram posts or whatever. Okay, here's the crazy thing about this. Like, I might say the same sentence, and I would say, as this lady, right? Here's how I would say it. Look, under a climate lockdown, governments are going to limit public vehicle use. They're going to ban the consumption of red meat. They're going to pose extreme energy-saving measures, and they're going to stop fossil fuel companies from drilling. That's how I would say it, right? Like, warning on what I think is going to happen. This bitch is not saying this as a warning. She's proposing it. She's proposing this. Bad Vibe says, oh, I thought it was about COVID. My bad. 3 interconnected crises. COVID-19 is itself a consequence of environmental degradation. Oh, yes, that's right. COVID is global warming too. As if everything else wasn't, now we know. Thank goodness, COVID is climate change. One recent study dubbed it the disease of the Anthropocene. Moreover, climate change will exacerbate the social and economic problems highlighted by the pandemic. These include governments' diminishing capacity to address public health crises, which is silly, because governments don't have a diminished capacity to address public health crises. They have more capacity now than literally ever. They have more capacity now than ever to handle any public crisis. This is crazy talk. When did we have more capacity to handle a public health crisis than 2020? With medical facilities that are far more effective and efficient than at any time in human history and more widely available. This is crazy. The private sector's limited ability to withstand sustained economic disruption and pervasive social inequality. The private sector has plenty of ability to withstand sustained economic disruption as long as it's not government imposed. Government-imposed disruption is different because there is no recovery, adaptation, or modification that can get you out of it, that can help you innovate. You can't innovate in the time of government suppression. You just close down or else grandma dies, bigot. These shortcomings reflect the distorted values underlying our priorities. For example, we demand the most from essential workers. You do. I don't. Including nurses, supermarket workers, and delivery drivers, while paying them the least. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to stop you. Delivery drivers make good money. They don't get paid the least. Actually, most UPS guys want to become delivery drivers or long-haul truckers because they get paid really, really well. FedEx delivery drivers, I assume, get paid really well. They certainly don't get paid the least. Now, supermarket workers do. It's because literally anybody can do the job. I'm sorry, and that's not an offense to supermarket workers. It's an entry-level position for a reason. Nurses don't get paid the least either. They just get paid less than doctors. Without fundamental change, climate change will worsen such problems. The climate crisis is also a public health crisis. Global warming will cause drinking water to degrade and enable pollution-linked respiratory diseases to thrive. According to some projections, 3.5 billion people globally will live in unbearable heat by 2070. Move them now. Move Mumbai now. Then. Why don't you? Why don't you move Mumbai now to like the southernmost tip of India? Just fucking change the seat of government and the seat of the economic center of India. Just move it. Just move. You know why they don't? Because they don't believe this. They don't actually believe these projections. If they did, they wouldn't buy houses on the coast. They wouldn't put up buildings on the coast. And they certainly would not be building cities or promoting and building up cities and setting up seats of government where the average temperature in some summer days is 120 degrees. They wouldn't do it. But they don't believe it'll get worse. They never have. Addressing this triple crisis requires reorienting corporate governance, finance, policy, and energy systems towards a green economic transformation. Of course it does. To achieve this, 3 obstacles must be removed. Business that is shareholder-driven instead of stakeholder-driven. Oh, shocker! The first part of the new capitalism is just fucking communism. Every fucking time. Can I get a clock reset? Every time. It's always communism. Well, we have to do capitalism differently. How? Communism. finance that is used in inadequate and inappropriate ways, and government that is based on outdated economic thinking and its faulty assumptions. Corporate governance must now reflect stakeholders' needs instead of shareholders' whims. I feel like I read a book about this. What was it called? Is it called Atlas Shrugged? Atlas Shrugged. Yeah, sure. The workers, the needs of the workers dictate the workplace. That's how it goes. They need the day off. Therefore, everybody else needs to work that day. Oh, their kid needs dental work. Therefore, you don't get lunch. Always the fucking same. Building an inclusive, sustainable economy depends on productive cooperation among the public and private sectors in a civil society. Nationalize everything. Or have nationally endorsed private companies, which is de facto nationalization, which is how you run communism, because you have to. That means firms need to listen to trade unions and workers' collectives, community groups, consumer advocates, and others. Likewise, government assistance to business must be less about subsidies, guarantees, and bailouts and more about building partnerships. Nationalize that ass! Why does this lady get all this money? I could write this. All I do is I just take what was written down by Ayn Rand and I just write the opposite. That's all you have to do. It's not even hard anymore. This means attaching strict conditions to any corporate bailouts to ensure that taxpayer money is put to productive use and generates long-term public value, not short-term private profits. And for the record, I'm opposed to bailing out anybody. How's that? How about we just don't bail out shit? In the current crisis, for example, the French government conditioned its bailouts for Renault and Air France on emission reduction commitments. France, Belgium, Denmark, and Poland denied state aid to any company domiciled in an EU-designated tax haven and barred large recipients from paying dividends or buying back their own shares until 2021. Just don't bail them out. Just don't bail out anybody. Likewise, U.S. corporations receiving government loans through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act were prohibited from using the funds for share buybacks. Not ambitious enough. These conditions are a start, but are not ambitious enough, either from a climate perspective or in economic terms. The magnitude of government assistance packages does not match firms' requirements, and the conditions are not always legally binding. For example, the Air France emissions policy applies only to short domestic flights. Far more is needed to achieve a green and sustainable recovery. For example, governments might use a tax code to discourage firms from using certain materials. Oh, goodbye coal power. You're gone. You're going to be just taxed to death. Man, again, it's like economists have been predicting the future from all the way back in the 30s. They might also introduce job guarantees at company or national level so that human capital is not wasted or eroded. Yep, you can never fire someone. They'll be a good employee still tomorrow. Don't worry. You just tell them that they can't be fired and they will be great. Guarantee their job. Always how we build productive workers is by removing the fear of failure. This would help the youngest and oldest workers who have disproportionately suffered job losses owing to the pandemic and reduce the likely economic shocks in disadvantaged regions already suffering industrial decline. Finance needs fixing too. During the 2008 global financial crisis, governments flooded markets with liquidity. But because they did not direct it towards good investment opportunities, much of that funding ended up back in a financial sector unfit for the purpose. The current crisis presents an opportunity to harness finance in productive ways to drive long-term growth. Patient long-term finance is key because a 3 to 5 year investment cycle doesn't match the long lifespan of a wind turbine, more than 25 years, or encourage the innovation needed in e-mobility, natural capital development such as rewilding programs, and green infrastructure. Some governments have already launched sustainable growth initiatives. New Zealand has developed a budget based on well-being metrics rather than GDP to align public spending with broader objectives, while Scotland has established the mission-oriented Scottish National Investment Bank. Along with steering finance toward a green transition, we need to hold the financial sector accountable for its often destructive environmental impact. The Dutch Central Bank estimates that Dutch financial institutions' biodiversity footprint represents a loss of over 58,000 square kilometers of pristine nature, an area 1.4 times larger than the Netherlands. Oh my. Oh my. Let's see. Here we go. I got to go back. A Super Iron Bob says, actually, the nurses were all laid off for not enough people in the hospital. Shh, 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 shh. Vienticus Prime says, COVID-19 is a disease caused by SARS-CoV virus. Bad Vibe says, wait, I thought COVID was degenerate. SARS-CoV, I got it. Wait, I thought COVID was degenerate eating of animals done in a foreign country. Mr. Kelso says, COVID-19 is for the mail-in election and commie takeover. No one important says, see, COVID came from the melting ice caps. And what melted the ice caps? Global warming. COVID killed the dinosaurs, and now it'll be us. Check and mate. Peter Pete says, I do long haul and clear $1,700 a week after taxes. Yeah, man, it's a good job. It's a good job. I remember I applied at UPS in my youth, and they showed me the long haul UPS drivers. I think they started at 88 grand. Went up to 140, something like that. It was the prized position. And I mean, you had to work at UPS for a long time because of union rules to get there, but you made a bunch of money. A very good living. Stormcrow 900 says, what about, that was, you got to remember, when I'm saying this, I'm talking about 20 years ago. Stormcrow 900 says, what about the candle makers, Nick? We spent 5 years employing all the candle makers. There's my anthem. My anthem re. Nick's Hex says, have you read Anthem? I have many times. I even have the graphic novel of it. But I also fully endorse reading Anthem over and over. Final Ixer. Finally Ixer? I don't know. My girlfriend is learning English and she just heard you scream every ducking with an F time and now she won't stop saying it. Thanks, I love it. You're welcome. You're welcome. Vienticus Prime says corporate bailouts are theft. Use money to help people. I agree. No corporation should be bailed out. I really don't believe in it at all. Income, it comes in pints, games, and more. Says, wasn't the Nazi Party originally called the Nationalist Socialist Workers Party? Yeah. Yeah, TK not a post, or not at post, says, Ricada dropping truth, great stream. She's just regurgitating every statist communist talking point since Hegel and Marx. New pen, different words, same tyranny. It's amazing, right? It always comes up. It always comes back to this. Bad Vibe says, progressives want control of all aspects of healthcare and business and resources. These folks also want population control. Chaos and nature can get the same goal faster. Lose government safety and Darwinism functions. Robert Levito says, regional trucker here, $70K a year to listen to grifters all day. Hey, congrats, buddy. Very nice. It's a very nice living, and I'm glad that you have it. Delvin Death says, this article makes me violently angry. What's the dealio? Says, supermarket workers actually don't even get paid that badly either. Yeah, I didn't even get to that. I'm making $15 an hour plus overnight pay plus any OT I want due to Corona. Nixx says, has your local representative read Anthem yet? No. And he's actually a turbo cuck right now. Dave Baker in Minnesota. By the way, Dave, you suck. He wrote a big letter about how wearing a mask was not bending the knee to government. And we all need to do what's right. And the governor is so good. Here I am building a gallows in my backyard. Vienticus Prime says, my text won't send, read my next at. Will do, buddy. What's up? I can't even take it. I can't even take it. The governments do not provide liquidity, you dumb fuck. The central banks are not government. The Fed is a private entity. Thank you. Thank you, Vienticus Prime. Entrepreneurial state. Okay, here we go. Let's read about the entrepreneurial state. Because markets will not lead a green revolution on their own because it ain't profitable. Government policy must steer them in that direction. This will require an entrepreneurial state that innovates, takes risks, an entrepreneurial state. The state. Remember when Obama did this and lost billions of dollars? Because the government is bad at this? That's what she's proposing as policy. Innovates, takes risks, and invests alongside the private sector. Policymakers should therefore redesign procurement contracts in order to move away from low-cost investments by incumbent suppliers and create mechanisms that crowd in innovation from multiple actors to achieve public green goals. There's a simple way to do this, by the way. That is not what she's proposing. It's the X Prize idea. It's the X Prize idea, where if you want something made, you put out an incentive to make it, and then you let people compete to make it. You don't invest in companies that might fail. You invest in the successful production. The DARPA model, for example. Show us the thing. We want the thing. Here's a list of the things we want. You show us the thing. Here's the price tag. You get it. If it's worth it, you come after it. If it's not worth it, you don't. There. That's the model. That's how government should invest in this stuff. It'll drive private sector innovation. There will be tangential benefits because other things will be created in the process. That's it. Government should also take a portfolio approach to innovation and investment. In the United Kingdom and the United States, wider industrial policy continues to support the information technology revolution. Put money in big tech. Okay. Similar to the EU's recently launched European Green Deal, industrial strategy, and just transition mechanism are acting as the motor and compass for the 750 billion euro next generation EU recovery fund. Meow Day, yes, Twitch tonight. Finally, we need to reorient our energy system around renewable energy, the antidote to climate change and the key to making our economies energy secure. We must therefore evict fossil fuel interests and short-termism from business, finance, and politics. Financially powerful institutions such as banks and universities must divest from fossil fuel companies. Until they do, a carbon-based economy will prevail. The window for launching a climate revolution and achieving an inclusive recovery from COVID-19 is in the process is rapidly closing. You must act now. Don't think about it, bigot. Act. Don't question. Act. Don't study. Act. We need to move quickly if we want to transform the future of work, transit, and energy use, and make the concept of a green good life a reality for generations to come. One way or the other, radical change is inevitable. It isn't, actually. It's not at all inevitable that we will have radical change. It's actually far more likely that we will have gradual change. Our task is to ensure that we achieve the change we want while we still have the choice. There you go. Suggested reading: a Nobel laureate makes the economic case for Joe Biden. Oh my God. CEOs from GM, ConocoPhillips, and more defy Trump's climate change stance. Push for carbon price. Innovation is too important to be left to investors alone. Beautiful. There you go. Your daily dose of the reddest of red-pilled communism. Nobody says, why the fuck are universities considered financially powerful to these people? Oh, dude, because they're endowment funds. Their endowment funds are massive. They're bigger than some hedge funds. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. University endowment. real quick, if you don't understand this, let me help you a little bit worse. The 100 richest universities in North America. Harvard University, $38.3 billion. By the way, Harvard, I believe, can pay for every undergrad to go to school there for free. With just the interest from their endowment fund every year. So there you go. But they spend money on other stuff. So Harvard has $38 billion. UT, University of Texas, $30 billion. This is a public school. Yale, $30 billion. Stanford, $26 billion. Princeton, $25 billion. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, $16.5 billion. University of Pennsylvania, $13.7 billion. These are invested. Their endowments are invested in very, very, diverse portfolios, just like any other investment. These aren't just sitting in a savings account. These drive economic change in several markets. So if you did not know that, I'm sorry to be the guy to break it to you. But yes, universities, especially the big universities, and the Ivy Leagues in particular, are massive, massive investors with tons of money and lots of economic clout. So, oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see. I think, oh wait, got a couple more here. Peter Pete says, no nonprofit companies and tax the church. I think taxing should be applied to every institution and everything. I don't think there should be a tax-free entity, but I similarly think that all taxes should be lowered dramatically. And until they lower the taxes dramatically, I'm not a big fan of it. Bad Vibe says, Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, which all these woke companies don't believe themselves unless there's a guaranteed government check attached. Well, that's a supply-driven economy, and that's, that is the capitalist belief. If I make the supply, someone will buy it, even if it's me. AutoShed TV says they can take my V8 from my cold, dead hands. Kurz Sherrard says, Project Syndicate sounds syndicalist in ideology, or at least that woman's ideas do. You should Google the definition of syndicalism and read it out. Okay, I'll do that. One more thing. Syndicalism. Syndicalism is a movement for transferring the ownership and control of the means of production and distribution to workers' unions, influenced by Proudhon and by the French social philosopher Georges Sorel. Syndicalism developed in French labor unions during the late 19th century and was at its most vigorous between 1900 and 1914, particularly in France, Italy, Spain, and the U.S. So another type of pseudo-communism. It's another place where communism hadn't been tried properly. Shadows King 101 says, didn't you say before that government employees shouldn't be taxed? I was probably making a joke since the taxes pay their salary already. David Edwards says, no bailouts would mean a bunch of job loss. No, not necessarily, actually. And if it does, then that's just how it goes. Like, because what bailouts do, though, is they preserve companies that don't deserve to be preserved. They reward the bad decision-making of companies, and they prevent, well, job losses where they should occur. So, yeah. It might mean a bunch of job loss, but it doesn't necessarily mean a bunch of job loss. Mr. Kelso says, amazing. They never speak of college students partying, going home, coming back, partying, then break, and so on. Yames says, suffer not the globalists to live. Polio64 says, can I get an early life check on that Frenchman? Oh, my goodness. All right, guys. That's... Oh, Shadows King. Then we were definitely just making jokes. Not serious policy statements. If we were both drunk. If you think Americans just wanted less, people wouldn't be so poor. I don't think Americans are poor. I think poor Americans are very wealthy. I mean, the poorest Americans have trouble starving to death. I mean, you can, but there is so much help available. There's so much help. Now, I know, because I know there's some viewers of this show who are in a situation where they are not able to easily eat. I'm not saying that every person can always get food. I'm saying in the aggregate, by the numbers, the level of actual poverty in the U.S. is pretty low. But poverty as measured relative to an average standard, that is certainly high. However, an impoverished American today has as many luxuries that weren't even available, much less attainable 30 to 40 years ago. So I know that can be a sensitive subject for people. And look, I'm not saying that anybody is not struggling. Certainly not. We've created a society where you can struggle even being wealthy. Like, there's plenty of times, and I am by no means poor, right? Like, you guys, I'm broadcasting on a very nice computer from a vault with a bunch of fucking nerd books behind me, right? Like, I'm okay. But there are times where I feel like making ends meet can be difficult. It just depends on the season. It depends on what happens. Like, this past 2 months has been kind of frustrating for me. Because I had to replace a lot of stuff. Or no, I didn't have to. That was the brain going, I needed to do this stuff. And it cost a lot of money to do, right? Because my cats destroyed my couches. We had an insurance claim on the house, all that stuff. And that's part of owning a house. I didn't need to replace the couches, and I didn't need to buy nice couches if I was going to replace them. But, that's where I wanted to be. But because of that, like, there were some cuts that had to be made other places. I had to push some other things off. That's how it goes. And there have been other times where, in the not recent or in the not too distant past where, it's like, oh gosh, I got to push this bill to next month. Because that's how life is. So I'm not saying that people don't struggle or anything like that. I'm just saying, on balance, poverty in the U.S. in 2020 is not. It's not the issue that it's made to be, because we measure relative poverty. We don't measure actual poverty. Embalmed. I don't have an 80-inch TV either. Stop struggling and start telling chat to hit like. Listen, if you like this stream, hit like. Hit like. Interact with me. Love me. Love me. Comment later. Kermit the Frog says, be sure to like the stream and subscribe to Ricada Media. If you don't, I'm going to take this bat and smash your fucking kneecaps. Fuck around and find out, chat. Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, let's do the, Awesome Robot says, so you are okay with EpiPens going from 100 to 600 because of U.S. capitalisms? That is such a long conversation. You're okay with children dying because parents can't afford a $600 EpiPen? Supply and demand, right? That is just messed up. Do you know why the EpiPen went to $600? You know why, right? Because in 1940 something, we mandated insurance through work. They guaranteed insurance as work. Why did they do that? Because the government implemented wage restrictions and prevented wages. And then we normalized the idea that workplaces provided insurance. So they did. And then they passed Obamacare, where everybody had insurance. How could kids possibly be dying? Everybody's got insurance. The government says they have to. That $600 EpiPen? No. That's free. Or, that's the same. It's 20% of $600. So it's $120 now. That's not supply and demand, though. That's not supply and demand at all. That's taking advantage of the system that is supported by like this lady and these principles that she's espousing in Market Watch. Oh man, a global health initiative is a part of a Green New Plan because everybody has to have government mandated health care. They can be just charged whatever they want. I mean, so what if you have to pay for the health insurance and it costs more and more and more than ever before by a long shot? And it rose dramatically after they required you to buy it. Shockingly. Something that every single free market capitalist on earth said would happen. Wait, if you mandate this, the price is going to skyrocket. It's not going to go down. Oh no, if we increase the risk pool, then the price will go down. No, it won't. There's no incentive for a lower price because you're mandating the purchase of the product. It'll go way up. What did it do? Went way up. $600 EpiPen is a product of that system. It's a product of that system. A system that true capitalists do not, no true Scotsman fallacy inbound, but capitalists do not advocate. Do not advocate for these types of systems because they're anti-capitalistic. But let me give you the hard answer. Let me give you the really hard answer. You're okay with children dying because parents can't afford a $600 EpiPen, supply and demand, right? Yeah. Sorry. I don't want a kid to die. But I don't see why anybody has a right to compel the production of something from someone else. Like, okay, here's the alternative. What if the EpiPen company decided to stop making them, but kept the ownership of the product and just said, yep, no one can make it? What do? You hold them at gunpoint and make them make EpiPens? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But can you do that? Do you enslave them? What happens when you nationalize healthcare and all the doctors quit? What do? You enslave them? You force them to work as a doctor? That's coming. By the way, that's coming. I don't know how you answer it. I have an EpiPen. If I saw a kid dying from anaphylactic shock, he could have my EpiPen every day of the week. 100% of the time, I'd give it to him. I'd buy his parents one too. But you're going to have a hard time convincing me now that there are that many people out there who simultaneously can't afford an EpiPen and also can't get on a government program to get an EpiPen. You remove their patent? Why? Why would you have a right to do that? They created it. But anyway, yeah, show me the person who can't afford an EpiPen, and I'll show you someone who has what? Like, why can't they? They don't have insurance, presumably, and they can't afford an EpiPen, so don't they have state insurance? I don't understand the question. I think that problem is far overstated and alarmist, but maybe I'm wrong. Show me the data on it. That'd be great. Also to the person who said, let's see. I took the long route to blame the $600 price hike, to blame it on Obamacare. I didn't blame it on Obamacare. I blamed it on the whatchamacallit, health insurance. The health insurance culture of America that started in I said the 40s. Someone said it was the 50s under Eisenhower, wherever it was. The health insurance culture. Health insurance went from being insurance for health emergencies to health care coverage. It was provided to most people through their employers, and then expanding on that principle of using Obamacare to mandate it has reinforced the culture that health insurance is the way to do everything. But I'll tell you what, that health insurance premium that many people aren't using is crippling them. It's crippling them because it's insane. Its cost is insane. But that's, like I said, it's a long discussion. But I'm not blaming Obamacare, but Obamacare is a factor in the same system. And ignoring that it is silly. Because, by the way, those insurance companies fully supported Obamacare only on the condition that they would force us all to buy it. Bad Vibe says Americans are in the top 6% globally. Now, compared to their peers is another issue. Isis Donic Dom says the EpiPen is $600 because no one has argued otherwise with 556 just yet. Lord Jeremy's Waffle says it feels like all you've been doing all nights is reading Super Chat. Do some work, Boomer. Bad Vibe says, what's next? Force genetic tests for health issues before people can procreate. Pro-Gov healthcare directors. Night of Hopex says, actual poverty is ducking a sword every time you try to pick up a grain of rice for your bloated, dying baby in North Korea. Get some actual poverty in your lives sometimes. You soft-skulled, smooth-brained, ungrateful retards. Damn. And Phoenix Lord Asterman says, don't you love it when people grandstand on children and need to make a non-point? You know, I don't blame people for it. I don't blame people for it. It's the toughest question, right? What do you do when the kid's dying? What do you do when the kid's dying of COVID? Lock down everything, I guess. That's what you do as the parent. Kermit the Frog says, this is going to sound harsh, but try having kids that don't have inferior beta genes. Oh, damn. Nah, man, it's tough. And hey, I got 5 of them. Trust me, I know the fear and the struggle of every single thing that could happen to a kid. Terrified of all of it. So, all right, guys, let me play the outro. I was going to finish early and then you put me over. I'll play the outro. I'll see you over on Twitch. I'll catch you over there. Have a good night, guys. Peace. Peace. Corey Goodman says, dying children build character. God damn it.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we His lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an ardbeg, a bow, more of love rug. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear Lost Planning tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law